Chapter 1. The volcanic magma-like temperature seemed to burn her body dry, and the only one who could save her was the man in front of her. She clung to the marble-like cool skin, and the instinct to survive finally made her give up resistance. The pain rose little by little with the pleasure, like fireworks constantly exploding in her mind, making her feel like a lonely boat in a blazing sea of fire, floating and sinking. She couldn't extricate herself. "Hey, wake up. It's air-conditioned here. Don't catch a cold." The pressure on her shoulders made Ningxi wake up suddenly. She looked at the nurse's concerned eyes confusedly. She immediately blushed with guilt and avoided her eyes shamefully. Damn it, it had been a long time. After that night of drunkenness, she and Su Yang still appeared in her dreams from time to time. Fortunately, she was unconscious and had no memory of that night. Otherwise, she really didn't know how to face Brother Yang. Seeing that she had woken up, the nurse handed her the list in her hand. "You forgot to take your pregnancy test report. Dr. Zhong asked you to come again next week." Ningxi took the report, smiled sweetly, and carefully put the list into her bag. Su Yang was abroad for an investigation and would come back today. Thinking of the meeting at night, Ningxi couldn't help but feel nervous. Because the place where Su Yang lived was too isolated, she finally got in touch with him when the child was more than 7 months old. Thinking of Su Yang's shock when he knew she was pregnant, Ningxi was a little nervous. Was it because she was particularly sensitive during pregnancy? Ningxi always felt that Su Yang was not as happy as she was. The doctor comforted her that when a man had his first child, it was difficult for him to change his mind for a while. But she couldn't take the initiative to ask for marriage, could she? Coming out of the hospital, the sun was blazing. Ningxi held her waist with difficulty and was about to flag a taxi. Suddenly, a dazzling red sports car rushed towards her. Ningxi's heart skipped a beat and she took a few steps back. With a harsh sound of the accelerator, the red sports car brushed past her clothes and stopped abruptly. Ningxi was so scared that her heart almost stopped beating. She just stood still and saw Ning Xueluo, who was wearing a tight red dress and had big curly hair, getting out of the car. "Ning Xueluo, are you crazy?" Ning Xueluo looked at her and smiled meaningfully. She crossed her arms and walked like a cat. She stood in front of Ningxi and looked down at the big-bellied Ningxi with pride. "What? Are you afraid that I'll kill the bastard in your stomach?" Ningxi subconsciously covered her lower abdomen and took a step back. She looked at her warily and said, "Ning Xueluo, don't go too far." Even though she knew that Ning Xueluo had always been at odds with her, Ningxi did not expect her to say such vicious words. "I'm too much. You're the one who's going overboard. You got drunk and fooled around with a wild man, got pregnant, and now you want Su Yanxi to be the father. TSK. Ningxi, you're shameless." Ningxi paused. "What nonsense are you talking about? Oh, don't tell me you really believe that the person you slept with that night was Su Yang?" Ning Xueluo laughed her head off. "You said that you and Su Yang grew up together and were childhood sweethearts. You don't even know what his body looks like." The more Ningxi listened, the paler her face became. Standing under the scorching sun, she felt cold all over. That's right, the man that night, she only thought that. Su Yang might be stronger than she had imagined after he became an adult. Now that Ning Xueluo reminded her maliciously, she suddenly remembered that in addition to his physique, the man that night seemed to be different from Su Yang in many aspects. Chapter 2. Let me tell you the truth. That night, you drank my spiked wine. Don't talk about how unsatisfied you were. I was kind enough to find 2 strong men for you. Who knew that you would be so ungrateful and barge into a wild man's room? You even. Ning Xueluo said in a disgusted tone, "Brother Yang is too kind. He was afraid that you wouldn't be able to accept it when you woke up, so he said that it was him that night." "You." Ningxi trembled with anger. Hearing this, she couldn't help but pinch Ning Xueluo's wrist. "Why did you do this to me? Why? Haven't you done enough harm to me?" Ning Xueluo frowned and was about to push Ningxi away. But when she saw Su Yang behind Ningxi, her voice immediately softened and she looked pitiful. "Sister, I know I was wrong. If you want to beat or scold me, just do it to me. Don't blame Brother Yang." Ningxi was stunned. The next second, she saw Ning Xueluo suddenly fall to the ground. That posture. It seemed that she had pushed her. Ningxi, what are you doing? She heard a scolding voice behind her ear. Ningxi turned around in surprise and saw Su Yang with a cold face. Su Yang passed by and helped Ning Xueluo up. Xueluo, are you okay? Ning Xueluo almost hung on Su Yang. Brother Yang, I didn't mean to do it. I really know I was wrong. Now it's all my fault, sister. Okay, I'm here. Su Yang patted Ning Xueluo's shoulder and asked her to get in the car. I'll explain it to Ningxi. Ningxi's mind went blank. She watched Su Yang walking towards her and his mouth opening and closing. He talked for a long time. He talked about their childhood, his struggle in love with Ning Xueluo, his anger when he found out that Ning Xueluo had framed him, his shock and guilt when he found out that Ningxi was pregnant, and his acceptance of Ning Xueluo's apology. Finally, he said, Ningxi, I'm sorry. I can't marry you. It's not because of what happened that night and this child. It's because I can't let Xueluo down anymore, and I don't want to cheat my feelings anymore. In the past few months, he had gone abroad with Ning Xueluo. After spending so much time with her, he couldn't bear to part with her. Even though he admitted that he had sex with Ningxi that night in order to redeem himself, he had already chosen Ning Xueluo in his heart. Therefore, after learning that Ningxi was pregnant, he immediately went to the Ning family to explain everything to his parents and told Ningxi the truth. In other words, Su Yang, you knew from the beginning that Ning Xueluo was the one who drugged me? Did you tell me it was you that night to protect her? Ningxi, who had finally found her voice, looked at the calm Su Yang in a daze. Ningxi, Xueluo didn't do it on purpose. She's young and impulsive. What about me? Ningxi looked up at Su Yang, her face full of despair. Have you ever thought about me? Su Yang didn't say anything. After a long time, he reached out to pull Ningxi. The sun is strong here. Let's go home first. Don't touch me. Ningxi pushed Su Yang's hand away and suddenly laughed. Until now, Ningxi felt that she was living like a joke. In order to come to Su Yang's city, she had to study so hard to get into B University. In order to please Su Yang, she gave up her dream of acting. In order to be a match for him, she abandoned her adoptive parents and returned to the Ning family. All day long, she clumsily tried to please these so-called celebrities. In the end, she only got one sentence. I can't let Xueluo down. Ning Xueluo not only took her identity, but also her biological parents. Now, she even took away her sweetheart. Ning Xueluo was young. Could her mistakes be forgiven? Then, who would pay for her life? She didn't even know who the man that night was. Ningxi covered her face. Her body trembled like a sieve. She had reached the limit of despair. Su Yang saw Ningxi walking to the road in a trance and threw away the cigarette between his fingers. When he was about to catch up with her, Ning Xueluo pulled his sleeve and said, Brother Yang, where are you going? While Su Yang was hesitating, he heard a loud noise. Ningxi, who was walking on the zebra crossing, was thrown out and fell heavily on the ground. Help, help! I bumped into a pregnant woman in the dazzling light. Ningxi saw the swaying figures and the two disgusting faces. The tightness and pain in her stomach made her lose consciousness bit by bit. She only blinked once and the blood on her forehead gushed into her eyes. The world fell into darkness. Chapter 3. 5 years later. In the deserted corridor on the top floor of Eaton Bar. Ningxi had been drinking with the investor all night and had a splitting headache. She was going to find a quiet place to sober up, but Chang Li followed her, so she had to brace herself. What's up, Sister Chang? Ningxi, let me ask you, did you sign up for the audition of the leading actress in the world? Yes, why? You're not allowed to go tomorrow. As her agent, Chang Li stopped her from auditioning for the role that was highly sought after by all the major entertainment companies. Ningxi was not surprised. She just raised her eyebrows and asked, why? How dare you ask me for the reason after making the decision behind my back? Don't you know that the company has arranged for Xueluo to audition? It doesn't seem to conflict with the company's arrangement. Ningxi looked at her with a faint smile. Ning Xueluo asked you to come to me? Could it be that she's afraid that an unknown actor like me will steal her role? Do you have the ability to steal Xue Luo's role? You're dreaming. Let me tell you, don't waste your time. The Ning family has invested 30 million yuan in this show, and Xue Luo has already been selected. In that case, why are you so nervous? You're my artist, so you have to listen to my arrangement. Chang Li said matter-of-factly. Oh, Sister Chang also knows that I'm your artist. Ning Shi, I don't have time to bicker with you. Since you don't know what to do, don't blame me. As soon as she finished speaking, Ning Shi felt a strong force coming at her. She was pushed into the warehouse of the bar and her phone was snatched away. With a bang, the door was slammed shut. The footsteps outside the door faded away. Ning Shi knew it was useless to shout, so she slid down the door and sat on the ground indifferently. When she first joined the company, Ning Xue Luo knew to restrain herself. At most, she would ask Chang Li to arrange some vicious villains for her. But recently, she had gone too far and even resorted to such low-level means. If she couldn't get the role this time, she would have to find a way to leave Starlight Entertainment. As her thoughts were in a mess, she suddenly heard a slight sound. Was there a mouse? Ning Shi looked in the direction of the sound and was stunned. She saw a little boy behind a pile of boxes. The little fellow looked to be about 4 or 5 years old. He looked like he was carved from jade, and he was like a white and soft little bun. He was hiding in a corner and shivering, and his pitch-black eyes were filled with vigilance. Why would there be kids in the bar's warehouse? There shouldn't be such an unreliable customer who would bring a child to a bar, right? Hey, little bun, who are you? How did you get in? Sneaked in? He was also locked up by someone. Do you want candy? After asking for a long time, the child did not say a word. He only trembled even more violently, like a frightened little animal. So Ning Shi stopped talking. It had nothing to do with her anyway. Just like that, the two of them occupied a corner and stayed there peacefully. At this moment, the light bulb above their heads suddenly flickered and then went out. In the darkness, Ning Shi vaguely heard a creaking sound. After carefully distinguishing it, she realized that it was the sound of teeth chattering. Ning Shi chuckled and said to the little bun, "Are you afraid of the dark?" The creaking stopped for a second, then grew louder. Why are you so timid? Ning Shi patted her butt and stood up, walking towards the little guy. Chapter 4. The little bun was so scared that his face turned pale. However, Ning Shi sat down next to the little bun and did nothing. She closed her eyes and went to sleep. Tonight, Chang Li took her to drink with people everywhere, so she had a terrible headache. When Ning Shi woke up, she felt something warm on the side of her leg. She looked down and saw that the little bun was rubbing against her leg and his little hand was still holding the corner of her clothes. Ning Shi laughed. When she was in the countryside, she had a cat. It was very timid and scared of people. It would run away when it saw people. However, as long as you didn't pay attention to it and let it relax and feel that you were not a threat, it would sneak up to you and even climb onto your knees to sleep. The little bun noticed her gaze and blushed. But this time, there was no panic in his eyes. Instead, his big eyes were full of curiosity. He really looked like a little kitten, even the look in his eyes. Ning Shi smiled and her hands were itchy. Finally, she couldn't help but reach out her hand to rub the furry head. As soon as he touched it, his expression immediately changed. Why was his forehead so hot? Do you have a fever? Chang Li would lock her up at least until the end of the audition tomorrow, or even longer. The child might be in danger if he continued to have a fever. She was anxious and found that something was wrong. The light bulb was broken. Why was there still light in the room? She looked up and found there was a small skylight above her head. Starlight sprinkled down from the window. Ning Shi looked around and brought a ladder over. Little bun, come here. I will help you out. For the first time, the little boy responded to her words. He shook his head and looked determined. Ning Shi understood what he meant and pinched his face with a smile. You are quite loyal. You want to share the joys and sorrows with me? Go up. The window is too small for me to get out. You go out first and then find someone to save me. Seeing that the little boy was still hesitating, Ningxi picked him up and put him on the ladder. Come on, don't waste time if you are a man. I will protect you from below. Finally, she sent the child out. Ningxi felt dizzy and her legs gave way. She fell down from the ladder. Next to the window, when little Bun saw this scene, a great amount of fear appeared on his previously lifeless little face. Ningxi forced herself to say one word. Go! Under the starlight, the woman's pale and haggard face could not hide her breathtaking beauty. Especially that pair of eyes, they were clear and beautiful, and they seemed to be filled with an ocean that reflected the stars. She was no longer the country bumpkin and ugly duckling she used to be. But what was the use of that? Ningxi smiled bitterly. She hadn't gotten her revenge, and she was going to fall to her death here. However, he had saved a little Bun before he died, so it could be considered a good deed. If her child hadn't died back then, he would probably be around this age. After the car accident 5 years ago, the Ning family felt that she was a disgrace and sent her to a diploma mill that specialized in accepting rich playboys, leaving her to fend for herself. She dropped out of school and applied to USC again, absorbing all kinds of knowledge like crazy. Because she wanted to defeat Ning Xueluo and take back everything that belonged to her. Most importantly, acting was her biggest dream in this life. After returning to China, with her good looks and solid acting skills, she was spotted by Chang Li and successfully entered the industry's largest management company, Starlight Entertainment. Her path to stardom was supposed to be smooth, but Ning Xueluo also entered Starshine and bribed Chang Li to suppress her. Chapter 5. At the same time, the atmosphere in the reception room of Eaton Bar was unusually heavy. The bar owner, manager, security guards, and related staff all stood in a row, trembling with fear. They all looked as if they were facing imminent disaster. Lu Group's little prince, Lu Tingxiao's precious son, had gone missing in their bar. On the sofa, Lu Tingxiao's face was as cold and hard as ever, like an ice sculpture without any extra expression. However, the pressure that belonged to a superior made everyone present feel weak in the legs and sweat like rain. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. A young man was kneeling at his feet, crying and snot. Brother, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have brought Xiao Bao to the bar. If anything happens to Xiao Bao, I don't want to live anymore. As soon as he finished speaking, he was kicked in the chest. The sound of bones breaking made everyone's scalp go numb, and everyone in the room trembled. Lu Jingli clutched his chest and coughed for a while. He immediately got up and straightened his back. His parents were on vacation abroad and didn't know that Xiao Bao was missing. If they knew, he would be skinned alive, and it wouldn't be as simple as being kicked by his brother. Lu Jingli's heart was in despair when someone suddenly knocked on the door of the reception room. The bar owner who was closest to the door opened it and was surprised to see no one there. He looked down and was stunned. Young master, Xiao Bao. Oh my God, Xiao Bao. Second uncle's sweetheart. Where the hell did you run off to? Lu Jingli crawled up and hugged the little fellow tightly. He was so moved that he cried bitterly. Everyone in the room looked as if they had just survived a disaster. Lu Tingxiao walked to the door, grabbed Lu Jingli by the back of his collar, and threw him away. He then squatted down in front of his son. What's wrong? Xiao Bao finally got out of his second uncle's clutches. He grabbed Lu Tingxiao's hand and anxiously tried to pull him out. As soon as Lu Tingxiao got close to his son, he could smell the scent of alcohol on him. Apart from that, there was also a faint fragrance. It wasn't the pungent smell of perfume. Instead, it was like a small flower that bloomed on a glacier, exuding a faint, cold fragrance. He felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, and his heart even palpitated for a moment. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao didn't move, little Bao's little finger pointed towards a direction, and he was anxious to the point of emitting hoarse sounds. Lu Tingxiao picked up his son and walked in the direction his son pointed. Seeing this, Lu Jingli and the rest of the people behind him looked at each other and followed suit. 5 minutes later, the group stopped in front of the warehouse on the top floor. Xiao Bao wriggled his body off his father and banged on the door of the warehouse with great force. He looked extremely anxious. What's wrong with Xiao Bao? What's inside? Lu Jingli was confused. Lu Tingxiao ordered expressionlessly, "Open the door." "Yes, yes, yes." The bar owner nodded, then turned his head and scolded the female manager beside him. "Manager Yi, what are you waiting for? Open the door. Where's the key?" Open the door?" The female manager froze. Oh no. She was still locked in there. She had promised Chang Li that she would lock her up until the end of the audition. However, with the two gods of the Lu family and her boss waiting, how could she say no? She could only take out the key and open the door with trembling hands. As soon as the door was opened, she saw a woman lying on the ground, unconscious. What's going on? Why is there a woman inside? The bar owner was furious. I don't know either. There wasn't anyone inside when I checked before. The female manager tried to explain with a guilty conscience. Hurry up. Save her first. As soon as someone tried to approach Ningxi, Xiao Bao immediately threw himself at Ningxi with a ferocious face, not allowing anyone to approach. Chapter 6. Boss Lu, this. The bar owner was at a loss. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Lu Tingxiao's gaze swept past the female manager, who looked guilty. Then, he glanced at the collapsed ladder on the ground and the skylight that could only fit a child. He could roughly guess what had happened. He raised his hand and dismissed everyone. Then, he walked over and carried the woman personally. The faint, cold fragrance in his arms became even more distinct. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was going to carry her, Xiao Bao didn't stop him. However, he didn't look very willing. He looked as if he would have carried her himself if he wasn't so small. First People's Hospital of B City. When Ningxi woke up, it was already the next morning. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw a man sitting on a chair by the window. His slender legs were crossed casually. His well-tailored suit outlined his broad shoulders and thin waist. The buttons on his white shirt were meticulously buttoned up to his collar. Even though he was under the morning sun, his body seemed to be covered with an eternal layer of ice. His cold and arrogant expression was like that of a king in a medieval castle. The man seemed to sense her gaze. He suddenly raised his deep, deep-sea eyes and shot a cold gaze straight at her. That gaze was too invasive. It was like a sharp scalpel dissecting her inch by inch. It was hair-raising. She shivered. She couldn't care less about the uncomfortable gaze of this strange man in front of her. She asked anxiously, "Sir, may I ask how I came here? Have you seen a little boy? He's 4 or 5 years old. He doesn't like to talk. He's fair and soft and looks adorable." Adorable. The man raised his eyebrows at Ningxi's description. Then, his gaze shifted to her right. His voice was as cold as his. "You mean Xiao Bao?" Ningxi hurriedly followed the man's gaze. She saw a fair and soft little bun sleeping soundly on the small bed beside her. There was an 4 drip on the back of his hand. Yes, that's him. His name is Xiao Bao. Ningxi finally heaved a sigh of relief. She leaned over and touched Xiao Bao's forehead. The fever had subsided. She regretted saving the child earlier. After all, the child was too young and had a fever. In a chaotic place like the bar, what if something happened to him if he went out alone? Ningxi looked at the ice sculpture man again. "Are you this kid's?" As soon as the words left her mouth, Ningxi realized that she seemed to have asked for nothing. The big and the small looked like they were carved from the same mold. They were definitely father and son, biological children. As expected, the ice sculpture replied, "Father. Hi, beauty, you're awake. I'm Xiaobao's second uncle." Suddenly a big face came over. Ningxi subconsciously stepped back. When she saw the man's face clearly, she was stunned. Lu Jingli. He was the second son of Lu Group and the boss of Shengshe Entertainment. Because of his outstanding appearance and romantic personality, he appeared in the entertainment pages of newspapers and magazines more often than artists. There was no way she would mistake that face for someone else. The ice sculpture man was Xiao Bao's father, and Lu Jingli was Xiao Bao's second uncle. Wasn't that ice sculpture Lu Jingli's brother, Lu Tingxiao? Lu Tingxiao was known as the god of fortune in the capital city. He was like the uncrowned king of the capital city. She never expected that the person she saved was Lu Tingxiao's legendary illegitimate son, the shiny little prince. Chapter 7. Lu Tingxiao sized up the woman on the bed, as if trying to figure out if the look of surprise on her face was real. After a while, he finally believed that she didn't know about Xiaobao's identity, so he said coldly, "Your request." "Ah, what request?" She didn't understand the meaning of these words that came out of nowhere. "My brother wants to thank you for saving Xiaobao. He wants you to make a request." Lu Jingli looked as if she had hit the jackpot. She thought quickly and then said cautiously, "Actually, you don't have to thank me. I did save Xiaobao, but he also saved me. If Xiaobao hadn't gone out to call for help, I would still be locked up in there. So we're even." Although she had been lucky enough to save little Crown Prince, she didn't dare to take credit for it. The richer one was, the more paranoid they would be, not to mention the Lu family, which was a super rich and powerful family. It would be nice if they didn't suspect that she was up to something. Didn't Lu Tingxiao look at her as if she were a thief? To avoid future trouble, it was better to cut ties with them. She didn't think there was anything wrong with her answer, but Lu Tingxiao looked unhappy, which made her nervous. Did she say anything wrong? Why did he look so scary? "Brother, don't look so scary. Those who know will think you're repaying a debt of gratitude, but those who don't know will think you're taking revenge." Lu Jingli couldn't bear to see the beauty being frightened, so he said to Ningxi, "My brother doesn't like to owe people favors. You'd better make a request. Don't stand on ceremony." How could he force her to make a request? Ningxi's mouth twitched. "I'm not being polite. I'm telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can check. No need." Lu Tingxiao's reply was concise and to the point. His expression was already slightly impatient. Lu Jingli said, "There are surveillance cameras in the warehouse of the bar. I've seen them. Xiaobao ran in by himself. As for you, the bar manager admitted that she locked you in, so don't worry. We don't suspect you. You did save Xiaobao. You'd better make a request." Fine, he was back to square one again. In the end, Ningxi had no choice but to bite the bullet and say under Lu Tingxiao's threatening gaze, "How about, you give me money? Don't rich people like this kind of direct way of repaying?" With Lu Tingxiao's personality, he would probably like to use money to solve his problems. If she didn't want money, people might think that she had other intentions. If she didn't want money, could it be that she wanted someone? Just when Ningxi was certain that this was the most suitable request, Lu Tingxiao's expression turned even uglier. Ningxi was about to cry. Why did he have to be so stingy with his words? Couldn't he just say what he wanted to say? Could he die of exhaustion by saying a few words? Lu Jing touched his nose. "My brother thinks it's too insulting to pay." Ningxi roared in her heart, "It doesn't matter, come and insult me." The Lu family's identity was too special. She really didn't know what to ask for. Just when the situation was at an impasse, Lu Tingxiao spoke. "Marry me." Ningxi was stunned for a second, then coughed violently, almost choking on her own saliva. Cough, cough, cough. "What did you say?" When she finally stopped coughing, she immediately looked at Lu Jingli anxiously. "Second young master, please translate." However, this time, it wasn't just Ningxi. Lu Jingli was also stunned. "Brother, what do you mean? I can't translate this time." At this moment, Ningxi suddenly had an idea. She said shakily, "Is it because I saved your son that you've decided to repay me with your body?" Lu Tingxiao nodded slightly. He thought for a moment and nodded. "You can say that." Chapter 8. Ningxi looked at the man in front of her with an expressionless, cold face and said something shocking. She touched her forehead weakly. "Doctor, where is the doctor? I think I might have broken my brain and am having hallucinations." Lu Jingli put on an innocent face and said, "Is my brain damaged even if I didn't fall?" At this moment, Ningxi can't accept the fact even though she has been abused thousands of times. She saved a little bun and the little bun's father said he would marry her. If it were someone else, it would be fine. If he was a little handsome, it would be a romantic encounter. But this is Lu Tingxiao, Lu Tingxiao. In terms of appearance, She is not bad, but Lu Tingxiao has seen all kinds of peerless beauties. If he just likes her, she won't be so scared. It's understandable that Lu Tingxiao likes her face and wants to play with her. But he said marry me, which is horrifying. Most importantly, don't you like men? Ningxi blurts out. Ha ha ha. Lu Jingli laughs. Lu Tingxiao's face is as dark as the bottom of a pot and the whole ward is suddenly overcast. After a long time, Lu Jingli finally holds back his laughter. If my brother likes men, then where did Xiaobao come from? Well, surrogacy, artificial insemination. If my brother likes men, why would he marry you? To cover up his true sexual orientation? Ha 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 ha, brother, I can't help you. I also heard that you two are a couple. Ningxi looks between the two brothers subtly. Ahem. Lu Jingli is scared and chokes. Damn, that's too heavy. Although I'm as beautiful as a flower, I like both men and women. At this time, someone in the center of the storm slowly stands up from the chair and walks towards Ningxi with his slender legs. Jingli, take Xiaobao out. Ah, brother, what do you want to do? Lu Tingxiao slowly adjusted his cuffs. Prove to Miss Ning that my sexual orientation is true. Looking at the other side's extremely gloomy and terrible face, and the eyes that seemed to want to tear her apart and swallow her, Ningxi was so scared that she fell off the bed, shrank behind Xiaobao, and almost crawled under the bed. Mr. Lu, this has nothing to do with me. It's all those people outside who are spouting nonsense. Every debt has its debtor. Also, you really don't need to thank me. If you really want me to make a request, then please don't make me make a request anymore. Ah, sorry, I have a very important audition later. I have to go first. Let's meet again if fate wills it. Ningxi spoke quickly and was about to slip away. However, she had barely taken a few steps when she heard Lu Tingxiao's cold voice behind her. Did I allow you to leave? Ningxi was so scared that her calves and stomach were trembling. My life is over. A few seconds later, under Ningxi's desperate gaze, Lu Tingxiao handed her a piece of paper and a pen. Miss Ning, please leave a note for Xiaobao, in case he gets worried when he wakes up and sees you. Just like that. It was like surviving a calamity. Okay, no problem. I can even write a letter of 10,000 words. Ningxi suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the pen and began to write. After writing, she was afraid that something might happen, so she rushed away. Looking at the girl's back, the man's eyes were deep, as if looking at a prey that had been put on chains. After Ningxi left, Lu Jingli immediately jumped up and down beside his brother. Brother, am I dreaming? Do you really like Ningxi? 32 years. You've been grinding an iron bar into a needle, but you've never taken a fancy to a girl. Even as your brother, I'm starting to wonder if you're gay. As soon as he said the word gay, he was blocked by his brother. Shut up. Oh. Lu Jingli choked. He was full of gossip, but he couldn't ask. It was really suffocating. Chapter 9. It was rush hour and there was a serious traffic jam. Ningxi was late when she arrived. Chang Li and Ning Xueluo came out of the audition building happily, surrounded by a group of people who congratulated them. Ning Xueluo saw Ningxi rushing over with sweat all over her face. The way she looked at her was exactly the same as 5 years ago. It was as if she was looking down on an ant. Seeing Ning Xueluo get into the nanny van and drive away arrogantly, Ningxi didn't leave. Instead, she quickly ran into the building. It wasn't too late. Halfway there, she bumped into a group of people who were talking and laughing. They were the judges of Under the Heavens. Sorry, I'm late. Ningxi bowed deeply. Looking at Ningxi who suddenly blocked their way, the judges looked at each other in dismay, all looking a little unhappy. No one liked being late. The assistant director said with a straight face, "The audition is over. What's the point of coming here now? Young people nowadays are getting more and more unreliable. I'm not here for the audition." Ningxi said. Oh, you're not here for the audition? Then why are you here for the audition? The scriptwriter asked with interest. I'm here for the second female lead, Meng Chang'e. As far as I know, You didn't find a suitable candidate in the last audition for the second female lead. Ningxi raised her head as soon as she finished speaking. The moment Ningxi raised her head, there was at least 5 seconds of silence. The assistant director who had been unfriendly just now was staring at her. The girl had red lips and white teeth. Her black hair reached her waist and she was wearing a bright red dress. Even such a strong color couldn't suppress her beauty. She just stood there quietly, but it was as if she was standing in a misty forest, like a fox that had cultivated for 1,000 years. That pair of enchanting eyes made people fall into the boundless spring scenery if they were not careful. Although her cultivation was deep, it was as if she had never set foot in the mortal world. The bottom of her eyes was pure and clear. "What's your name?" It wasn't until Director Guo Chisheng spoke that the judges woke up. It was as if they had just had a charming dream. Ningxi. Director Guo exchanged glances with the assistant director, scriptwriter and producer and said, "I remember you. You're an artist from Xinghui, right? Go back and prepare. You'll be the second female lead. We'll inform you when the shooting starts." "Thank you, Director. I will prepare well." Ningxi bowed to express her gratitude. From the very beginning, Ningxi's goal was to be the second female lead. For this role, she had pondered for 3 whole months, trying to understand Meng Changa's feelings and temperament, striving to be able to move the judges at a glance. Although there were many twists and turns, fortunately, she succeeded. After Ningxi left, Director Guo sighed repeatedly. This is really like wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Although this girl has signed with Star Hui, her qualifications are too lousy. With such qualifications, she actually came to audition for the female lead. I didn't take it to heart at all, but in the end, I didn't expect her to be so much prettier than in the photos. The scriptwriter, Yi Linglong, could not suppress her excitement. The most important thing is her temperament. The look in her eyes just now was on point. Before Meng Changa became a demoness, she was a righteous female general. She could be flirtatious, but she could never be vulgar. She even had to maintain a sense of innocence and detachment from the world. The actresses who came for the audition before acted like I was the courtesan of a brothel. I'm so mad. Ha ha ha, don't be angry. Your song is finally here. At the same time, in the First People's Hospital of B City, the ward where little Bun was in a complete mess. The little fellow curled up barefoot on the windowsill. He was extremely emotional and shouted at the top of his lungs. No matter what the doctors and nurses said, he wouldn't come down. Lu Jingli was coaxing him like a precious baby, but the little fellow didn't listen to him at all. Lu Jingli had no choice but to call Lu Tingxiao, who had just been called away by the company, back. Chapter 10. Brother, you're finally here. Xiao Bao suddenly went berserk. What happened? Lu Tingxiao asked in a low voice. I don't know. He looked for Ningxi everywhere after he woke up. I thought he might be looking for Ningxi, so I told him not to look for her. The beautiful auntie had left. As soon as I said that, he went berserk. Xiao Bao seems to like Ningxi, but he shouldn't have been so excited when he heard that she had left. Besides, Xiao Bao hadn't been so emotional for a long time. After hearing what had happened, Lu Tingxiao walked straight to his son. Seeing Lu Tingxiao approaching, the little boy immediately shrank back vigilantly. His eyes were full of defensiveness and rejection, and he didn't even recognize his own father. Lu Tingxiao stopped 3 steps away from his son and said calmly, Your second uncle told you that auntie has passed away, but he meant it literally. There's nothing wrong with her body, and she's been discharged from the hospital. She hasn't passed away, unlike your grandmother, who left and never came back. Do you understand? Lu Tingxiao would probably only be so patient in front of his son and say such a long sentence in one breath. Lu Jingli was dumbfounded. Are you kidding me? I only said 2 words, I'm leaving, and he's already imagining so much. In fact, Xiao Bao had seen Ningxi fall with his own eyes. He had been frightened, so it was not surprising that he had misunderstood his father's words. After hearing Lu Tingxiao's explanation, Xiao Bao temporarily stopped screaming, but he still lowered his head and shrank on the windowsill, motionless. So Lu Tingxiao took out a note. She gave it to you. Do you want to read it? Xiao Bao froze and then, as if a switch had been pressed, he raised his head and opened his short arms, asking for a hug. Lu Jingli, all the doctors and nurses, they had been tortured to the point of breaking down, but Lu Tingxiao had solved it with a piece of paper. Lu Jingli had thought that his brother's action of asking Ning Shi for a note was unnecessary, but now he was completely convinced. Lu Tingxiao sat down on the sofa with his son in his arms and handed him the note. The little boy couldn't wait to take it. He had already learned how to read it. Baby, thank you for saving me. You're amazing. More Tilda, looking at the words on the note and the heart drawn at the back, the little guy's eyes sparkled and his little face seemed to be a little red. Although he pursed his lips reservedly, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. Needless to say, he looked very cute. Lu Jingli looked as if he had seen a ghost. Damn, did my eyes deceive me just now, brother? Our little treasure actually smiled. I can't even remember when was the last time I saw him smile. What did Ningxi write? Lu Jingli wanted to peek, but Xiaobao immediately hid it like a treasure. However, Lu Jingli had already seen it. It was a rather ordinary message. How could it make little treasure so happy? Ningxi was really not simple. Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything. He looked at his son with a gentle gaze. After Xiaobao woke up, Lu Tingxiao directly took him home and pushed off all the work at the company to stay at home with him. At night, at Supreme Platinum Palace No. 8. The spacious living room was cold and cheerless. Two people, one big and one small, sat opposite each other across the dining table, each with a colder expression than the other. Lu Tingxiao said, "Let's eat." Xiaobao turned a deaf ear. Lu Tingxiao said, "I'll say it for the last time." Xiaobao didn't move at all. Lu Tingxiao said, "Do you think a childish threat like a hunger strike will work on me?" Xiaobao was completely immersed in his own world like an old monk and didn't respond to the outside world. The father and son continued to face each other. An hour later, Lu Tingxiao called Lu Jingli. "Send me Ning Shi's address." Well, it turned out that a hunger strike was quite effective. Lu Jingli was very efficient. He immediately sent Ning Shi's specific address to his brother's cell phone, along with a lot of gossip. Of course, Lu Tingxiao directly ignored them. This time, Xiaobao didn't need to say anything. Seeing his father pick up his coat and car keys, Xiaobao immediately followed him. Lu Tingxiao looked down at his son at his feet and bent down to pick him up helplessly. Just don't do it again. Chapter 11. Ning Shi took a nap after coming back from the audition building. She then went to the supermarket to buy hot pot base, side dishes, and beer. She had won the first battle, so she decided to eat hot pot at home to celebrate. Eating hot pot alone was the highest form of loneliness. Fortunately, she had always been a loner and was used to it. Just as she was about to add the food into the pot, there was a knock on the door. Who would come at this time? Ning Shi opened the door suspiciously and was stunned. Outside the door, Lu Tingxiao was wearing a suit and a black coat. He was holding a little bun in his arms and the little bun was holding a colorful fruit basket. What kind of strange combination was this? Mr. Lu. Ning Shi swallowed her saliva. Why are you here? It's so late, what's the matter? Visiting the patient. Lu Tingxiao's thin lips spat out two words. Visiting a patient. It was so late at night and he brought the little bun with him. She had only fallen a little, and she was still alive and kicking. Mr. Lu, you are too polite, please come in. I'm sorry, the room is a little messy. Ning Shi didn't have time to think. She was flattered and invited him in. She quickly tidied up the room, removed the junk from the sofa, and stuffed the messy clothes under the bed. Take a seat, what would you like to drink? How about tea and milk? While Ning Shi was busy, she tried her best to guess Lu Tingxiao's intention. Unfortunately, Lu Tingxiao's cultivation was too profound, and she couldn't guess it no matter how hard she tried. Sure. Lu Tingxiao nodded, as if he was answering a soldier reporting to him. Ning Shi could only make a cup of tea for Lu Tingxiao and a glass of milk for the little bun. Lu Tingxiao sat on the sofa in the cramped living room and the little bun sat next to him. The father and son not only looked alike but also had the same expression. They were both expressionless. Neither spoke. Then there was an awkward silence. Ningxi sat opposite and wanted to cry. What the hell, what were these two doing here? At this moment, there was a bubbling sound from the pot and the air was filled with a tempting spicy smell. Ningxi wanted to break the silence and casually said, "Well, have you had dinner? I was preparing to make hot pot. Do you want to eat together?" Lu Tingxiao said, "Sure." Little Bun nodded. Ningxi, she was just being polite. Why did the two of you agree so readily? A big CEO and a young master. What kind of delicacies had they not eaten before? Why would they come to eat a shabby family hot pot with a commoner like her? Even Ningxi herself felt that she couldn't take it out. However, he had already said what he wanted to say, so he could only bite the bullet and invite them to the table. Then, he ordered 2 more sets of bowls and chopsticks. "The seasoning I bought is quite spicy. Can you eat spicy food?" Ningxi asked worriedly. Lu Tingxiao, "Sure." Little Bun nodded. "All right." Ningxi brought over the washed side dishes. Lu Tingxiao didn't eat much. Most of the time, he was cooking for them. Little Bun, on the other hand, liked spicy food just like her. It was so spicy that she stuck out her tongue. In the end, even Ningxi was a little worried. Is it not good for children to eat too much spicy food? If anything were to happen to this little prince while he was here, she wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. "I'm not that weak." Lu Tingxiao didn't think much of it. So Ningxi didn't say anything more. How was the audition? Lu Tingxiao, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. Ningxi was stunned for a moment before she reacted. She replied, "It went well, so I made hot pot today as a celebration." Lu Tingxiao raised his glass. "Congratulations." He didn't expect that the first congratulation he received would come from Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 12. Ningxi clinked the beer in her hand with his and smiled from the bottom of her heart. "Thank you." The moment the girl smiled, Lu Tingxiao's mind swayed unnoticeably. Ningxi looked at Xiao Bao and said, "I have to thank Xiao Bao this time. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to make it to the audition in time. Come, baby, let me toast you." Xiao Bao looked at his milk and then at Ningxi and his father's beer. He seemed a little reluctant, but in the end, he clinked his glass with Ningxi and gulped down the rest. Ningxi was tickled by his serious look and couldn't help but laugh. Did he even know what it meant to be deeply in love? Halfway through, Lu Tingxiao went to the balcony to answer a call. Ningxi immediately went over to Xiao Bao and handed him her beer. "Heh, are you curious about the taste? Quick, 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 while your dad isn't here, have a sip. But only a sip." Xiao Bao's eyes were as bright as the stars in the sky. He lowered his head and carefully took a sip. Although it didn't taste good at all, he felt very happy. When Lu Tingxiao came back from the call, Ningxi immediately sat up straight and pretended that nothing had happened. Xiao Bao was more professional. He drank the milk slowly and didn't seem to be out of place. Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to notice. He sat down as usual, but a trace of warmth quickly disappeared from the bottom of his eyes. The 3 of them weren't bad. She had bought a lot of food and finished them all. Ningxi saw that it was getting late and was wondering if they should go back. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed across the sky, followed by the rumbling of thunder. A strong wind started blowing outside the window. I saw the weather forecast that there would be a storm tonight and a typhoon. Ningxi looked at the pouring rain outside the window with a headache. Xiao Bao looked at Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao looked at Ningxi. In the end, Ningxi could only say, "It's so late and the weather isn't good. Mr. Lu, it might be dangerous for you to rush back with Xiao Bao. How about, you stay at my place for the night?" Out of politeness, she thought that Lu Tingxiao definitely wouldn't agree. In the end, Lu Tingxiao said, "Okay." Xiao Bao nodded. Damn, why did he agree? Lu Tingxiao was too easy to talk to. Why did she have an illusion that they were looking forward to her saying this? He was going crazy. In the end, Lu Tingxiao and Xiao Bao stayed behind. The dormitory that the company arranged for her wasn't big. It only had 1 bedroom and 1 living room. Sleeping at night was really a problem. I'll sleep in the living room tonight. Mr. Lu, can you and Xiao Bao sleep in my room? I'll go change the sheets. No need. I'll sleep in the living room. You and Xiao Bao can sleep in the bedroom. Lu Tingxiao's tone left no room for refusal. She felt guilty. Not only did she treat President Lu to a cheap hot pot, but she also asked him to sleep in the living room. If there was only Lu Tingxiao tonight, she wouldn't let him stay even if it was hailing, especially when Lu Tingxiao said those words during the day. But she had no choice, there was still a little bun. It was indeed too dangerous for him to rush back with a child in this weather. Moreover, with a little bun, it shouldn't be considered a lonely man and woman, right? She could only accept her fate. I'll see if I can find some clothes for you to change into. After rummaging for a while, she actually managed to find it. Chapter 13. There was a set of children's pajamas in the shape of Pikachu that the manufacturer gave her when she was working part-time. She casually stuffed it in the cabinet, and it was perfect for Xiao Bao to wear. Lu Tingxiao was easier to deal with. His brother had left a few pieces of clothing with her. After recognizing her biological parents, she felt sorry for her adoptive parents. She was too ashamed to face them, so she rarely contacted them. She only had some contact with her younger brother, Tang Nuo. After finding clothes, she went into the room to get a new quilt and pillow for Lu Tingxiao. The sofa in the living room wasn't big enough for Lu Tingxiao's long legs, so she had no choice but to lengthen a stool. Xiao Bao was quite worry-free. After taking a shower, he put on Mengmeng's pajamas and lay down on the bed. After taking a shower, she changed into a more conservative two-piece pajamas. After making sure that she didn't wear anything inappropriate, she walked out. Then, Mr. Lu, I'm going to bed now. Call me if you need anything. Yes. Looking at Shi, who had just finished bathing, Lu Tingxiao's eyes lost focus for a moment, and then the darkness in his eyes was overwhelming. The girl's hair was tied into a bun, and she was wearing the most ordinary two-piece pajamas. She didn't have any makeup on her face, and her jade-like skin had a natural blush from the steam. It could be seen that she had deliberately avoided arousing suspicion. There was nothing wrong with her image. However, Lu Tingxiao's current feelings were somewhat indescribable because he discovered that a certain part of his lower body was actually showing signs of lifting up. After she entered the bedroom, she suddenly saw that there was a cute little thing on her bed. Her mood was very strange. Ever since last night, many things had developed beyond her expectations. Hurry up and sleep. She lay down beside Little Bun and turned off the main light, leaving only the bedside lamp on. Little Bowsy blinked his eyes, showing no signs of sleeping. She had a headache again. It seemed like children needed to be told stories to sleep. She shrugged helplessly. I don't know how to tell stories. How about I sing a song for you? Little Bun nodded with an expectant expression. So she gently patted Little Bun's back and sang softly, half cold, half warm autumn pressed to your side. Quietly watching the dancing stream as the red leaves in the wind to make one's heart flutter, half drunk and half sober, hold back your laughter for 1,000 times, just let me drift like snow in the clouds, kiss a face lightly with ice, bring forth wave after wave of lingering, how much love left in the world, welcome the 1,000 transformations of floating life. She was stuck at this point because the next line was doing happy things with a lover. Damn it, these lyrics don't seem to be suitable for children. Let's change to another song. Auntie can't sing the rest of the song. Auntie will change it for you. Little Bun obediently nodded in agreement. She racked her brains and changed to a safer nursery rhyme. There's a little frog in the happy pond. When it dances, it's like it's possessed by a prince. No frog can be more beautiful than its cool eyes. One day, it'll be awakened by the princess. I believe that miracles are waiting for me. I'm confident that you'll accompany me when I grow up. After singing Little Jumping Frog 3 times, he finally heard the sound of sweet breathing. Taking care of children is really not easy. Suddenly, she admired Lu Tingxiao for being a single father. Who was Little Baozi's mother? Why wasn't she with Lu Tingxiao after giving birth to Little Baozi? Was it because of his low status that the Lu family refused to accept him? Or did he have some unknown entanglement with Lu Tingxiao? Ning she gradually fell asleep as she let her imagination run wild. In the middle of the night, Ning she was woken up by a muffled sound from the living room. Chapter 14. Xiao Bao was sleeping soundly. She quietly got out of bed to see what was going on. She pushed open the bedroom door and saw Lu Tingxiao pouring water. He was holding his stomach with one hand and his face looked very pale. Ning she hurried over. "Mr. Lu, are you okay?" "I'm fine." Do you have a stomachache?" Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything. Ning she knew she had guessed right. So Lu Tingxiao couldn't eat spicy food. Why did he eat it? "Wait, I'll get you some medicine." Luckily, she had the usual medicine at home. Ning she hurriedly fetched the medicine for the stomach. "Take both." "Thank you." Lu Tingxiao took the medicine from her palm. His cold fingertips brushed against her skin. It felt like he was brushing against her heart, making her feel numb. It was a stormy night and such a beauty was right in front of her. It was too easy to go wrong. Ning she recited the pie for a long time before she calmed down. Seeing Lu Tingxiao take the medicine, she couldn't leave immediately, so she stayed with him for a while. "Are you feeling better? Do you need to go to the hospital?" "Sorry, I didn't know you couldn't eat spicy food." She had been worried about Xiao Bao, but Xiao Bao was fine. Lu Tingxiao was in trouble. "What was going on? It's nothing to do with you. It's just an old problem." They were silent for a while. Lu Tingxiao suddenly said, "I'm sorry to disturb you tonight because Xiao Bao wants to see you." Ning she was surprised. "Xiao Bao wants to see me?" Xiao Bao was frightened in the warehouse. "You saved him, so he is very dependent on you now," Lu Tingxiao explained. Ning she found that as long as Xiao Bao was by his side, or when she mentioned anything about him, Lu Tingxiao's cold aura would be much more restrained. He was not as scary as he was during the day. "I see." Ning she nodded. Probably because it was easy to let down one's guard at night, Ning she asked the question that had been bothering her for a long time. "May I ask if Xiao Bao doesn't know how to speak?" She had never heard Xiao Bao say a word. The little guy only knew how to nod and shake his head. "It's not that he can't speak, he just doesn't want to," Lu Tingxiao replied. "So it's because of his psychology?" Ning she frowned. "Xiao Bao is slightly autistic." Lu Tingxiao didn't hide it. "I see." It was about the same as what she had guessed. As for why Xiao Bao was autistic, she naturally didn't dare to ask about this kind of rich and powerful secret. "Miss Ning." Lu Tingxiao suddenly stared intently at her. That gaze was clearly cold and clear, but it gave her the illusion that it could burn people to ashes. "En." Ning she was startled by his stare. "Have we met somewhere before?" Lu Tingxiao asked. If this question had been asked by someone else, Ning she would have been sure that the person was hitting on her, an old-fashioned one at that. However, the person who spoke was Lu Tingxiao, and the confusion in his eyes was genuine. "I don't think so. If I had met someone like you, Mr. Lu, there's no way I wouldn't have an impression of you. Is there a problem?" Ning she's tone was quite certain. With her identity, even when she was the eldest daughter of the Ning family, it was impossible for her to meet someone like Lu Tingxiao. "It's nothing." Lu Tingxiao looked away, his eyes reflecting the dark night outside the window. He looked a little lonely. If they continued to be alone like this, the atmosphere wouldn't be good. "Mr. Lu, if there's nothing else, I'll go to bed first." Ning she said cautiously. Lu Tingxiao seemed to see through her and raised his hand. "No hurry, sit down." "No hurry." She was in a hurry. Chapter 15. Ning she sat down with a long face. She sat like a primary school student. Lu Tingxiao rested his head on his hand. "Are you afraid of me?" Lu Tingxiao was more sinister and dangerous in the middle of the night than he was in the day. Ning she shook her head like a rattle and then nodded. "There should be no one in the capital who isn't afraid of you, right?" Lu Tingxiao twirled the cup with his slender fingers and said, "Just because everyone else is afraid of me, you're afraid too? Then, other women want to marry me. Why don't you want to?" Ning she almost fell off the chair in fright at this question. She had thought she had dodged a bullet during the day, but she was too naive. How was she going to answer this damned question? Ning, she raised her hand shakily. Before I answer this question, can I ask a question? Lu Tingxiao nodded. Sure. Why me? Is it because Xiaobao is very dependent on me? I think it's just temporary. It'll be fine when he's emotionally stable. Even if he continues to be like this, you don't have to suffer like this. Ning, she tried to persuade him as if she were a young girl who had lost her footing. Lu Tingxiao put down the cup in his hand and looked up at her. Miss Ning, I thought I made it very clear from the beginning. If you still don't understand, I don't mind saying it again. Because you saved Xiaobao, I've decided to repay you with my body. It's this reason that I can't accept it, okay? Ning, she roared in her heart. Ning, she felt that she couldn't get through to him on this issue anymore. She could only say apologetically, Mr. Lu, thank you very much for your kindness. Actually, I don't believe in marriage, so, Lu Tingxiao raised an eyebrow. So, you only want to sleep with me? And you don't want to marry me? That's right. Pooey. No. I didn't mean that. Ning, she was about to kneel down in front of him. Could he not be so frightening? It's a pity that I only accept sexual relationships based on marriage. Who would believe that? Ning, she couldn't help muttering. You're pregnant before marriage, okay? Lu Tingxiao looked out of the window, looking a little lost. Xiaobao is an accident. I don't know who his mother is. Why did that sound so lousy? Do you mind that I have a son? Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked. Impossible. Just as Lu Tingxiao had said, all the women in the capital wanted to be Xiaobao's stepmother. She didn't have the right to mind. Then why? It seemed that Lu Tingxiao would not let her go until he got to the bottom of this. Ning, she touched her forehead helplessly, took a deep breath and said, Mr. Lu, marriage is not a child's play. Whether it's for repayment or for other reasons, we just met. Do you know me? Do you know about my past? I want to marry the current you. Your past has nothing to do with me. Lu Tingxiao's answer was indeed domineering. Ning Xi's face gradually turned cold. But for me, the past is also a part of me. I can't separate my past and marry you. Mr. Lu, people who walk different paths can't make plans together. I sincerely suggest that you take back that absurd idea. What followed was a cold silence. Just when Ning Xi thought that the other party would fly into a rage after being rejected again, Ning Xi's expression changed. Lu Tingxiao said calmly, I understand. Ning Xi finally relaxed. Then I'm going to bed. Good night. Good night. The man looked at her frail back, his gaze as deep as the sea. What didn't change was the temperature at the bottom of the sea. Chapter 16. The next morning, Ning Xi was woken up by the man's deep voice in the living room. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Lu Tingxiao put down his phone and said gently, Did I wake you up? Ning Xi stared at the man in front of her, her eyes wide open. Lu Tingxiao wasn't wearing a shirt and the first thing she saw when he pushed open the door was the color of skin. She touched her nose. Fortunately, she hadn't embarrassed herself. Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to notice her expression. He calmly picked up his shirt from the sofa and put it on. As he buttoned it, he said, I have something urgent to attend to at the company. Please wake Xiaobao up. Oh, okay. Ning Xi nodded and went to wake Xiaobao up. In the end, before she could call for help, she turned around and saw a soft and adorable Pikachu standing at the bedroom door. It was staring unblinkingly at its biological father, Lu Tingxiao, with a very displeased expression. Xiaobao, go change your clothes. Lu Tingxiao put on his coat and ordered his son. The only response he got was a bang, and the bedroom door was slammed shut. Ruthlessly. Lu Tingxiao, Ning Xi. Lu Tingxiao went to open the door but it was locked from the inside. He looked at Ning Xi. Do you have the key? Ning Xi shook her head awkwardly. Yes, but the key is in the room. Lu Tingxiao pinched his forehead and said coldly, Lu Qingyu, I'll give you 3 minutes. If you don't come out by then, don't even think about coming here again. 3 minutes passed and there was no sound inside. Lu Qingyu, come out. If I force you out, I won't be so nice to you. There was still no response. The little bun didn't give his father any face. Ningxi wanted to laugh but didn't dare. I have work to do later. It's okay to let Xiaobao stay here for a while. Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. He took out his phone and was about to make a call. Ningxi glanced at him secretly and was speechless when she saw that he was calling the psychiatrist. Wasn't he making a mountain out of a molehill by calling the psychiatrist for such a small matter? Ningxi coughed and suggested, "Why don't I have a try?" Lu Tingxiao hesitated for a moment and nodded. Ningxi leaned against the door and said gently, "Xiaobao, I have to go to work later and can't take care of you. Can you go home with Dad first?" There was still no response from inside. "How about this, let's exchange phone numbers and keep in touch. You can also video call me." There seemed to be some hesitant footsteps coming from inside. "If Auntie is late, the leader will scold me. Our leader is very fierce. Auntie is so pitiful." The door opened with a click. Lu Tingxiao, who was prepared for a protracted battle, was startled. He looked at the woman beside him with a complicated gaze. She only said 3 sentences, and Xiaobao obediently came out. The last time Xiaobao locked himself in the attic on the balcony like this, the family of 4, the butler, the servants, the psychiatrist, and even the negotiation experts were all dispatched. They tried to persuade him for an entire afternoon, but to no avail. In the end, they had no choice but to tear down the door. As a result, the little fellow ignored them for an entire month. Of course, Ningxi didn't know about this. She just felt that this child was so obedient. She picked up the gloomy little bun who couldn't bear to see her scolded and praised. "Little Bao is so obedient." "Thank you, baby." Little Bun, who was praised, felt a little better. He silently handed her a piece of paper with a string of numbers written on it. Ningxi took the paper and said, "Hey, is this your phone number? Okay, I'll save it. I'll call you when I'm done." Lu Tingxiao was a little puzzled. Xiaobao didn't have a phone. Where did he get his phone number? Taking advantage of his height, he took a look. It was his phone number. Not bad, he was indeed his biological son. Chapter 17. At Starlight Entertainment. In the office, Chang Li was exasperated. Ningxi is the second female lead in the audition. The second female lead? Ning Xueluo frowned when she heard that. Wasn't she playing a small role in some unknown drama? How could she have had time to audition? I was also surprised. After asking, I learned that during the audition for the first female lead yesterday, when the judges were about to leave after the audition, they accidentally saw Ningxi and felt that she was very suitable for the second female lead, so they decided on the role at first sight. No wonder you are so wary of her. Ningxi is so scheming. She was still loitering in front of the judges after the audition. I wonder who she is trying to seduce. There was something Chang Li didn't dare to say. Ningxi was so beautiful that she wouldn't be surprised if the judges chose her at a glance. When she had signed Ningxi, she had planned to focus on training her, but Ning Xueluo had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. One was a powerless newcomer, while the other was a popular actress with a powerful family background. Everyone knew how to choose. In the entertainment industry, being beautiful was not the only thing that mattered. Ning Xueluo looked gloomy. Although she is not the first female lead, this film is a big production. It was obvious that she didn't want Ningxi to get the role. Chang Li was a bit embarrassed. I'm afraid it will be a bit troublesome this time. After all, the company has invested a lot of money in this film. The boss was very happy to know that the first female lead and the second female lead have been chosen by our company. It would be good if our company could have someone more suitable than Ningxi to replace her, but the last audition was a complete failure, so there is no reason to replace Ningxi. Ning Xueluo seemed to have thought of something, but she suddenly calmed down. She stroked her exquisitely trimmed nails and sneered, "Forget it. Since she's in a hurry to act as a vixen, let her be. The seductress who brings disaster to the country is indeed suitable for her." Ningxi soon received a call from Chang Li, who informed her that the second female lead in the world had been confirmed and that she should prepare for it. In the world, the first female lead helped the male lead ascend the throne with all kinds of wisdom and bravery, while the second female lead was despised by all kinds of sinister and cunning tricks. In the end, She was forced to jump off a cliff by the first female lead. With such a character setting, it was no wonder that Ning Xueluo was so generous this time and did not destroy it. Although she got the role of the second female lead in Under the Heavens, she still had to finish what she had to do. She still had a filming set to run today. Her role was that of a mistress who stole someone else's husband. She only had 5 minutes of filming left. She would be surrounded and beaten up by a group of people for 5 minutes under the bright sun. In reality, it took more than 2 hours to finish acting these 5 minutes. Because the extras were inexperienced, their actions and expressions were not uniform, so she had to be beaten repeatedly. Back home, she casually turned on the TV and lay down on the sofa, exhausted. After lying down for a while, she felt as if she had forgotten something. At this time, the television was broadcasting the news, and a familiar figure appeared on the screen. This unparalleled beauty, these broad shoulders, narrow hips, and long legs, this ascetic temperament from 8,000 meters above sea level. Who else could it be but Little Bun's father, Lu Tingxiao? Lu Tingxiao seemed to be at a signing ceremony, shaking hands with a few foreigners. The host excitedly introduced that Lu Group had joined hands with the Italian DR brand to enter the European market, and their market value might double. She finally remembered that she had forgotten to call Xiaobao at the Platinum Gold Palace. The 2 elders of the Lu family had returned from abroad, and the family of 5 was having a meal together. The big project that Lu Group had been negotiating for 3 years had finally been settled. Old Master Lu was very happy and expressed high praise and encouragement to Lu Tingxiao. He even praised Lu Jingli. However, at the end of the speech, the main point came. The gist of it was that work was important, but his precious grandson was even more important. Old Master Lu, Tingxiao, work is important, but you can't neglect Xiaobao. You're done with work now, so spend more time with Xiaobao. Old Madam Lu, if you really don't have time, then find someone to help you take care of him. Xiaobao is already so big, you should also consider your own personal issues. Old Master Lu, your mother is right. Lu Jingli secretly gave his brother a look. Look, our parents are starting to put on a show again. Lu Tingxiao buried his head in his food and did not say a word. Lu Xiaobao held his phone and did not move. Chapter 18. Old Madam Lu was extremely worried when she saw the big and small wooden stakes. Tingxiao, did you hear what I said? And what's wrong with Xiaobao? He hasn't eaten anything all night and has been holding his phone like a treasure. Lu Jingli chewed on the sweet and sour pork and mumbled, Xiaobao is waiting for a pretty auntie's call. Old Madam Lu was confused. What pretty auntie? Lu Jingli waved his hand. Mom, Dad, don't worry. My brother already has someone he likes. Old Madam Lu was still shocked. Is what you said true? Second brother, don't lie to us. Old Master Lu put down his chopsticks solemnly and looked at Lu Jingli inquiringly. Why would I lie to you? It's true. Ask my brother yourself if you don't believe me, Lu Jingli said as he looked at his brother. Tingxiao, is what Jingli said true? Old Master Lu asked in a low voice. Tingxiao, say something, Old Madam Lu urged. Lu Tingxiao said, yes. Old Madam Lu was anxious and after waiting for a long time, she heard only a yes. She was furious. You brat. Can't you say one more word? Why is it so hard to talk to you? Lu Tingxiao said, it's true. Old Master Lu was speechless. All right, he really only said one more word. Old Madam Lu was still worried and asked hesitantly, Tingxiao, is the person you like a girl or a boy? Lu Tingxiao's face darkened and he said through gritted teeth, a girl. Lu Jingli laughed so hard he almost fell off his chair. Of course it's a girl. And a very pretty girl. Xiaobao likes her very much too. Xiaobao has been waiting for her call. Old Madam Lu was so happy that she cried. Our ancestors have blessed us. Our ancestors have blessed us. Tingxiao, which family does she belong to? How old is she? Where does she come from? What does she do? Who are her family members? Why didn't you tell us? Lu Jingli hurriedly interrupted her. Mom, calm down. We didn't tell you because we didn't want you to interfere and end up making a fool of yourself. If they knew Ningxi's real identity and that she had a bad reputation in the entertainment circle, the whole thing would be ruined. At this moment, Old Master Lu spoke up. Tingxiao can't be wrong if he has his eyes on someone. Don't worry too much. What do you mean I'm worried? Don't tell me you're not worried. Who was the one who was so worried that he couldn't sleep in the middle of the night and smoked on the balcony? Old Madame Lu mercilessly exposed her husband. However, after hearing her husband's words, she felt a lot more at ease. Tingxiao has such high standards. The woman he chooses will definitely not be bad. Most importantly, Xiaobao likes her too. As soon as he finished speaking, the phone that Xiaobao had been holding for the whole night suddenly rang. This was Lu Tingxiao's private number. Not many people knew about it. Lu Jingli leaned over and saw that it was indeed Ningxi's number. Is it that girl? Old Madame Lu asked excitedly, as if she was about to meet her daughter-in-law. Lu Jingli nodded repeatedly and answered the call for Xiaobao. Xiaobao didn't know how to use a cell phone very well. Lu Tingxiao had bought a cell phone for him before, but he didn't like it and had thrown it away somewhere. At that moment, everyone's attention was focused on Xiaobao's cell phone. Lu Jingli was the most thick-skinned and he leaned over to the phone to eavesdrop. Chapter 19. Ningxi hesitated for a long time before she finally dialed the number. Because of what had happened 5 years ago, she actually didn't like children and was even a little averse to approaching them. That would bring back some bad memories, such as the child she had lost. That child had carried her most gentle expectations, but also represented her dirtiest past. For some reason, Little Bun didn't make her feel uncomfortable at all. Instead, she liked him from the bottom of her heart and couldn't help but want to get close to him. How strange. Hello, hello? The call connected, but there was no sound. Ningxi knew that it must be Xiaobao, so she chuckled. It's Xiaobao, right? Sorry, Auntie just finished work and only remembered to call you now. Xiaobao didn't know how to speak and couldn't respond to her, so Ningxi could only talk to herself. Baby, have you eaten yet? You're too skinny, you have to eat more, okay? Children can't be picky about food, that way they can grow faster, and Chubby is so cute. Although you're already cute enough now. Oh yeah, I just saw your father on TV. He closed a big deal. That's amazing, congratulate him for me. 10 minutes later, Xiaobao put down his phone and took out the writing board that he hadn't used for a long time. Stroke by stroke, he wrote, "Engratulations." Although Xiaobao didn't know how to speak, he was good at both Chinese and English. He didn't like writing Chinese, so he wrote English most of the time. But he hadn't written in a long time. Because he didn't express himself at all. Seeing this, the two elders were stunned. Lu Jingli was calm because he had seen it before. Lu Tingxiao vaguely heard what Ningxi said on the phone. Looking at the word, a rare smile appeared on his icy face, and he touched his son's little head. Thank you. After Xiaobao finished writing, he started eating in an extremely serious manner. He even ate the carrot that he hated the most. At this moment, the two elders were still in a daze. Boss seemed to have smiled just now. My good grandson wrote on his own, my good grandson ate on his own, and my good grandson even ate a carrot. Old Madame Lu finally came back to her senses and asked impatiently, Jingli, what did that girl say to Xiaobao on the phone just now? Old Master Lu's face was also filled with curiosity. Lu Jingli, who was surrounded by his parents, said slowly, nothing much. She just told Xiaobao to eat more and not be picky. She also asked Xiaobao to congratulate my brother on her behalf. Old Madame Lu's face was filled with disbelief. That's it. Lu Jingli shrugged. What else can I do? Old Master Lu looked very pleased. This girl has done more with one phone call than Xiaobao's psychiatrist can do in a year. That's right. Old Madame Lu was pleasantly surprised. This girl is really not bad. Tingxiao, you must make good use of her. Lu Tingxiao, MHM. Old Madame Lu looked at her eldest son in disdain and turned to her youngest son. Second son, your brother is a blockhead. How would he know how to woo girls? You must help him, all right? Now you know how useful I am. Lu Jingli snorted proudly. Don't worry, I'll definitely use all my knowledge to help my brother, but let's make an agreement. Both of you are not allowed to interfere. You should know that at this stage, it's the easiest thing for a parent to interfere. The two elders naturally responded, we know, we won't ask. Chapter 20. After dinner, the two elders had just left when Lu Jingli wagged his big tail and went to his brother to claim credit. Brother, wasn't I awesome just now? Halfway through wagging his tail, a small object was thrown from his brother's hand towards him with a whoosh. Lu Jingli caught it. What's that? When he saw it clearly, his eyes widened. It was a car key. The only one in the world that he had coveted for a long time, the 100-year commemorative Bugatti sports car. Oh, my dear baby. Lu Jingli hugged the car key and kissed it. Brother, I love you. Previously, his brother had refused to give it to him, but this time, he had thrown it to him after saying a few words to his parents. Ningxi's position in his brother's heart was higher than he had imagined. The more Lu Jingli thought about it, the more worried he became. Brother, are you sure it's Ningxi? And it's not for fun, but for marriage? Marriage. Lu Tingxiao's tone left no room for a second possibility. Lu Jingli sighed when he heard that. Then, as an experienced person, he said earnestly, then I have to remind you to be mentally prepared. Chasing a woman is like playing a game, there are different levels of difficulty. Easy mode, normal mode, hard mode, hell mode. And Ningxi is definitely on the ground. Prison. Mode. Style. Every woman has a weakness, but what about Ningxi? Do you use money? From the fact that she looks so miserable, she definitely doesn't accept being kept and sleeping around. Love. Look at how many men she dumped when she was abroad. Her ex-boyfriends are all over the entertainment industry, and all of them are not ordinary people. When I saw that list, I was convinced. I've never been convinced by anyone in this aspect. As for using a child, don't even think about marrying her. She's focused on her career and has no intention of having a child. Even if I were to do it myself, it would most likely be Garova. A newbie like you with a negative EQ is practically giving away experience. Lu Tingxiao looked at him coldly 100%. Lu Jingli's mouth twitched. Okay, I'll definitely Garova. Don't pay attention to these small details, okay? In short, my final conclusion is, I bet Ningxi is the same as me, a true believer of not marrying and not having children. This kind of person was cynical about relationships and regarded freedom as life. If you want to play, it's easy. Want to get married? Extremely difficult. That's because you haven't met someone who's willing to marry you and give birth to a life together. The moonlight spilled into the room through the window. Lu Tingxiao's usually cold and stiff face now looked a little gentle. Lu Jingli counted how many words his brother had said this time, his face full of disbelief. People in love are really different. Even an emotional idiot can teach me a lesson. Well, Tilda, but what you said does make sense. What do you think? Do you need any help from your dear brother? Lu Tingxiao gave him 3 words, no need. Lu Jingli panicked. Why wouldn't I need it? Picking up girls is different from working in the business world. Think about it carefully. Do you really not need a smart, wise, and handsome coach to pick up girls? Lu Jingli was trying his best to promote himself when the door to the study was suddenly pushed open with a creak. The two of them turned their heads at the same time. Unexpectedly, he saw Xiaobao in pajamas at the door. Surprise flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Hey, Xiaobao. Lu Jingli's face was also full of surprise. Xiaobao actually appeared outside of his own bedroom at this time. Chapter 21. One had to know that Xiao Bao was extremely fond of silence. Usually, he would hide in his room alone after he finished eating. The servants in the house had to return to their rooms after they were done with their work. They were not allowed to make a single sound. Otherwise, Xiao Bao would become extremely agitated and even lose control if he was slightly disturbed. Old Madame Lu just felt sorry for Xiao Bao and went into his room a few times to bring him food, but Xiao Bao locked himself in the attic. Because of this, old Madame Lu didn't dare to move in with them even though they loved Xiao Bao so much. But now, Xiao Bao actually came out of his own accord. Not only that, Xiao Bao ran straight to Lu Tingxiao and hugged his leg. Lu Jingli burst into laughter. What are you doing, Xiao Bao? Hugging his leg. Lu Tingxiao looked down at his son and knew what he wanted to do at a glance. He refused without hesitation. No, you already went there last night. So Xiao Bao's eyes fell on his mobile phone. You already called me once during dinner. Lu Tingxiao refused again. Lu Jingli, who was at the side, understood. So the little fellow missed Ningxi. Xiao Bao saw that his papa couldn't be persuaded, so he ran over to Lu Jingli and used the same trick again, hugging his leg. Lu Jingli was flattered. No, 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 baby, don't do this. You know your second uncle can't stand you acting cute. Although the little baby was usually dull, once he needed someone's help, his expression and demeanor would be so adorable that you would want to die. When he raised his small head and looked at you with those big eyes that were as beautiful as the stars, you simply wanted to pluck the stars from the sky for him. The only one in the family who could resist this trick was Lu Tingxiao. Lu Jingli spread out his hands helplessly. Xiao Bao, it's useless to act cute. I can't beat your father. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Bao immediately let go of Lu Jingli. He was very decisive. Seeing the little boy's expression as if he had been separated by his heartless parents, Lu Jingli leaned against the wall and laughed. Hey, Xiao Bao, you don't have to be so anxious. There's a saying that if two people love each other for a long time, they won't stay together day and night. When your father marries Aunt Xiaoxi, you'll see her every day. Persuasion failed. The little guy ran out of the door. Lu Jingli shrugged. What should we do? He ate a lot tonight, Lu Tingxiao said. In other words, he wouldn't be able to use the hunger strike for the time being. Lu Jingli calmed down after hearing his brother's words. However, they had still underestimated Xiao Bao. He was just a kid, so he didn't need any strategy. All he needed was to make a scene. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud bang came from the living room downstairs. Lu Jingli and his brother looked at each other, and the two of them quickly ran downstairs. In just a short while, the living room downstairs was already in a mess. In the corner, the antique vase that was as tall as a person had fallen to the ground and shattered into pieces. Everything that could be pushed over or broken was not spared. Lu Qingyu. Usually, Lu Tingxiao would only call out Xiao Bao's full name when he was really angry. Even Lu Jingli couldn't stand it, let alone Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao trembled with fear at his father's terrible face, but he became even more emotional. He screamed at the top of his lungs and ran around to destroy things. Lu Jingli hurriedly chased after him, but he didn't dare to run too fast. There were so many pieces on the ground, and if he accidentally fell on them, the consequences would be disastrous. Chapter 22. Brother, we can't go on like this. Let's ask Ningxi to come here. Don't. Lu Tingxiao scolded. Lu Jingli tried to persuade him. Brother, Xiao Bao is still a child. He is not your subordinate. You are too strict with him. What's wrong with spoiling him a little? Every child is willful and mischievous. It's not your place to criticize my way of education. Lu Tingxiao's face was as cold as frost. It seemed that he had made up his mind not to encourage Xiao Bao's bad habit of making trouble to achieve his goal. Lu Jingli was in a dilemma between the father and son. It was really a headache. If things got out of hand and alerted his parents, the fact that he took Xiao Bao to the bar would probably be exposed. God, someone come and save him. While Lu Tingxiao went to catch Xiao Bao, Lu Jingli quickly took out his cell phone and secretly called Ningxi. At night, Ningxi was reading the script at home and chatting with someone on the internet. Dirty Monster King. Ningxi, can you change your non-mainstream QQ name? It's so annoying. Moaning and moaning. Isn't the Dirty Demon King an eyesore? How dare you say that to me? Dirty Monster King. I will return to China next month. Pick me up at the airport. No, I don't have time. Dirty Monster King. Pick me up. I said I don't have time. Dirty Monster King. Are you coming or not? The other party doesn't want to talk to you and throws a dog at you. Dirty Monster King. The other party caught your dog and beat it up. The dog's heart feels like being pricked by a needle. Dirty Monster King. Fuck. Why are you dirtier than me? And who the fuck is a needle? You dirted me first. I don't want to talk to you. I want to read the script. Dirty Monster King, she is just a supporting actress. What's so interesting about it? We had a good relationship. Do you really want to be so heartless? There are so many people who have a good relationship with me. Who do you think you are? Dirty Monster King, Ningxi. Wait and see. Ningxi turned off the computer and concentrated on reading the script. After a while, her cell phone suddenly rang. It was a strange number. She was worried that it was a call from the crew, so she picked it up immediately. Hey, Ningxi, help. I'm Lu Jingli. Come to the palace immediately. Something's happened to Xiao Bao. What? What happened to Xiao Bao? Ningxi's heart immediately tightened. Anyway, it's urgent. Hurry over. Brother, calm down. The child is still young. Xiao Bao, you can't fall. Lu Jingli made it sound so serious, and the sound of things falling and breaking came from the other end of the phone. Ningxi became even more nervous. She hurriedly changed her clothes and answered, I'll be right there. She didn't know what was wrong with her, but she couldn't sit still the moment she heard that Xiao Bao was in trouble. Even though they had only known each other for a few days, he had been unable to let go of her. It was quite a distance away from the palace and it would take at least 40 minutes to get there by taxi. Ningxi was worried that something might happen during such a long time, so she pushed her motorcycle out of the garage and rushed there at lightning speed. It was supposed to take 40 minutes, but it only took Ningxi 10 minutes to get there. Lu Jingli must have informed the security guard. After Ningxi gave him her name, the security guard let her in directly. When she arrived at Villa number 8, there was a maid waiting outside to show her the way. Chapter 23. For the convenience of riding, Ningxi was wearing a tight black leather jacket and trousers. She hurried over and took off her helmet and gloves. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall. She looked handsome and arrogant. Lu Jingli almost couldn't help but whistle when he saw her in this form. Lu Qingyu, do you really think I don't dare to hurt you? In the corner of the living room, Lu Tingxiao grabbed his son who had nowhere to run. The little boy struggled violently in his arms, like an extremely angry little beast, crazily flashing his tender little claws. No. Ningxi rushed over and snatched Xiao Bao away. Xiao Bao looked up at her and was stunned for a second. Then his big eyes turned red and he plunged into Ningxi's arms, clinging to her and never letting go. Looking at the little boy who was so cute and soft yesterday, but now his eyes were full of fear and he was trembling all over, Ningxi felt so sorry for him. She was so angry that she couldn't care less about the terrible boss and said, Mr. Lu, I know I'm in no position to say anything as an outsider, but I still want to say that your way of education is really problematic. Children need warmth at such a young age. Besides, Xiao Bao's situation is special. He has been stimulated and he doesn't have a mother by his side. You should be more patient and tolerant to him. How can you be so fierce to him? Don't you see how scared he is? You even wanted to fight with him. Lu Tingxiao said, it's my fault. Lu Jingli. Haha. Lu Jingli chuckled as he listened to his brother's clean admission of his mistake. When I said there was something wrong with your way of education, you just scolded me in the face. Ningxi said you were so obedient. After Ningxi came, Xiao Bao was like a puppy that had seen its owner. He was very obedient, completely different from the crazy lion cub just now. He obediently let Ningxi lead him back to the room without moving a muscle. On the sofa, Ningxi gently touched Xiao Bao's head to comfort him. What happened? Wasn't he fine this morning? Lu Jingli sighed. What else could it be? Xiao Bao missed you and wanted to see you, but my brother wouldn't let him. I wanted to call you, but my brother didn't let me. He didn't want to disturb you. In the end, Xiao Bao started to cause a ruckus. He ran around and smashed everything in the living room. My brother didn't want to indulge his bad habit, and the two of them had a falling out. Then, it became like what you saw when you came. Just because you won't see me or call me. Ningxi found it hard to understand. Although Lu Tingxiao had said that Xiao Bao was relying on her, was her influence really that great? What do you think? You're underestimating your own influence. Seeing that she was confused, Lu Jingli listed them out for her. Remember that day in the warehouse? When you fainted, Xiaobao didn't allow anyone to touch you. In the end, it was my brother who personally carried you to the hospital. Ning, she subconsciously glanced at Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao carried her to the hospital. Also, at the hospital, when Xiaobao woke up and saw that you weren't there, he thought that you were dead. He went berserk on the spot and almost jumped off the building. My brother showed him the note you left for Xiaobao, and only then did he calm down. Last night, in order to see you, Xiaobao went on a hunger strike and threatened my brother. As for tonight, because of your call, he ate too much and couldn't use the all-purpose hunger strike, so he did this. Ate too much. Tonight, she did tell Xiaobao to eat more on the phone. How could it be her fault? Chapter 24. Lu Jingli's words contained so much information that it took Ningxi a long time to digest it. She looked at Xiaobao, who was clinging to her. Xiaobao, did you smash things because you wanted to see me? Xiaobao nodded. Ningxi frowned. Do you know it's wrong? Xiaobao shook his head. Ningxi finally knew why Lu Tingxiao was so strict. He must have been spoiled too much at home and felt that everything should go according to his wishes. Ningxi's eyes became serious. Auntie is telling you now that it's wrong. Only bad kids will do this. Don't do this again, okay? Xiaobao nodded. Lu Tingxiao's expression was indescribable. Although Xiaobao was naughty, he would do as long as he agreed. The psychiatrist had tried all kinds of methods to deal with Xiaobao's bad habit of going on hunger strike, locking himself up, and even smashing things, but Xiaobao didn't buy it at all. As for forced correction, the two old men at home were reluctant to do it. Every time, they would be obedient halfway through. Ningxi's influence on Xiaobao seemed to be greater than he had imagined. Of course, he was naturally happy to see this happen. After Ningxi finished reasoning with Xiaobao, she coaxed him to sleep softly. Well, can I change a song for you today? Xiaobao nodded obediently. Let me think what to sing. I got it. Calabash Brothers, 7 flowers on one vine, not afraid of wind and rain la 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 la. Lu Jingli, who was leaning against the door frame, staggered and almost fell. How could Xiaobao like such childish children's songs with his IQ? He found that the little boy was listening with relish. What was worse, his brother was also listening with relish. Finally coaxing Xiaobao to sleep, Ningxi stretched. I've almost sung all the children's songs I've learned in my life. Lu Jingli didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why do you have to sing children's songs? You can sing other songs too. These children's songs are shocking to me. Ningxi tied up her long hair with the rubber band on her wrist and raised her bright almond-shaped eyes slightly. Other songs? Except for children's songs, all the other songs I know are not suitable for children. As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's mind instantly flashed with her soft and lingering dancing light stream. Lu Jingli was excited. Ha ha ha, really? What song? Sing it for me. Lu Tingxiao glanced at him. Lu Jingli was so frightened that he immediately behaved himself, silently cursing his brother for being so petty. You were nearby just now? Lu Tingxiao asked. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come so quickly. No, I'm at my apartment. I sped all the way here on my motorcycle. Hurry up. Ningxi said proudly. No wonder he was dressed like this. Today's outfit was even more stunning than yesterday's. Yesterday, she was like a fairy that adhered to the rules, but today, she was like a free and unrestrained fairy. Very dangerous. Lu Tingxiao's face was full of disapproval. Then he glared at Lu Jingli, who had taken the liberty to call Ningxi over. It's okay. I'm good at riding. Ningxi waved her hand carelessly and yawned. Since Xiaobao is fine, I'll leave first. She was about to leave when Lu Tingxiao suddenly said, Miss Ning, I have a presumptuous request. Ningxi immediately reverted to her cowardly self after her anger was depleted. She said respectfully, Mr. Lu, please tell me. I'll do it as long as it's within my power. The Lu family had influence in both the underworld, and Demon King Lu was someone who would fight with others over the slightest disagreement. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son in the room with a dignified expression. Last time at the bar, after he was accidentally locked in the warehouse, the shock Xiao Bao received was far more serious than I imagined. Right now, only you can comfort him. Before Xiao Bao's emotions recover, I hope that Miss Ning can temporarily move in for a period of time. After hearing Lu Tingxiao's words, Ningxi was stunned. Her. Move in, here. Chapter 25. Yes. Ningxi scratched her head awkwardly. This isn't appropriate. If Xiao Bao wants to see me, I can come and see him at any time. Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows tiredly. There are too many uncertainties, especially at night. If something unexpected happens, it will be too dangerous for you to rush over like this. With my status, it's not convenient for me to bring Xiao Bao to see you frequently. I know this is a difficult request, but as Xiao Bao's father, I still want to fight for it. I hope you can agree. Ningxi was having a headache. If Lu Tingxiao were to use his power to pressure her, she would definitely turn around and leave. However, with his status and identity, he was begging her so sincerely. Especially in front of such a peerless beauty, facing such a face, she really couldn't refuse. At this moment, Lu Jingli was staring at his own brother with a look of worship. Absolutely amazing. He really didn't expect that his brother would use such a high-end method to open up a bloody path to Ningxi, turning a disadvantage into an advantage on the road to Ningxi. Xiao Bao's existence was not an obstacle to him, but his greatest help. Just at this time, a bang sound rang out, and the table lamp on the bedside table was knocked over. Xiao Bao suddenly jumped off the bed with a panicked expression and rushed out. It was not until he saw Ningxi that the fear in his eyes receded and he pounced on her legs like an arrow leaving the bowstring. The incomparable fear in his eyes was heart-wrenching. Ningxi hurriedly squatted down. "Baby, why are you awake?" The little fellow buried his head in her body, and his soft little hands wrapped tightly around her neck, refusing to let go. "Good boy, Auntie is here. Don't be afraid." Ningxi patted the little boy's back and smelled the sweet milk fragrance of the little boy. She felt very complicated. She clearly hated to be near children, but why couldn't she hate Xiao Bao? Ningxi could only coax Xiao Bao to sleep again, and then gently closed the door and walked out. The messy living room downstairs had been neatly cleaned up by the servants. No wonder they were servants of the Lu family. Not only were they efficient, but they were also well trained. Although they were all curious about Ningxi's arrival, no one looked at her more than once, nor did they dare to whisper to each other. They left quietly as soon as they finished their work. Seeing her come out, Lu Tingxiao just looked at her quietly, didn't say anything, and didn't give her any pressure. Ningxi looked hesitant, but when she thought of how Xiao Bao was tugging at the corner of her clothes, her heart softened in the end. She took a deep breath and said, "Okay, Mr. Lu, I'll help you. Take it as repayment for saving me before." Lu Tingxiao's expression relaxed. "Thank you. Xiao Bao may wake up at any time. It seems that I can't leave tonight, but my things are still in the apartment." Ningxi was in a dilemma. "Don't worry, I'll get someone to get it for you," Lu Tingxiao said and instructed the butler to send someone to make the arrangements. Lu Jingli, who hadn't said a word from the beginning to the end, was dumbfounded by this godlike development. Were they living together? Is there anything else? Lu Tingxiao gave Lu Jingli a sidelong glance. "I'll get lost right now." The light bulb that was despised by her own brother quickly left. Originally, he thought that Ningxi's strength could crush him, but now it seemed that his brother was not easy to deal with either. He finally realized that it wasn't that his brother didn't know how to hit on girls, it was just that he hadn't broken the seal in the past 32 years. Lu Tingxiao brought Ningxi into the room next to Xiaobao's bedroom. "You can live here from now on. What style do you like? I'll get someone to redecorate it." Ningxi waved her hand hurriedly. "No need, I'll leave after a few days. It's not like I'll be staying here forever. It's too troublesome to redecorate it." "It's not troublesome at all." Lu Tingxiao took a bunch of keys from the butler and handed them to her. "This is the key to the house. You can go in and out as you please. The door is locked with a password. The password is 591414. This is the key to the attic. You have to keep it close to your body. Xiaobao likes to take the key and hide inside. This is. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao was about to give her the key to the safe, Ningxi hurriedly interrupted him. Wait a minute. Mr. Lu, you're too trusting of me. Aren't you afraid that I'll empty your house? What do you want? I'll get someone to help you. Lu Tingxiao said seriously. He wasn't joking at all. Chapter 26. Cough, cough, cough. Ningxi was defeated by Lu Tingxiao's train of thought and hurriedly explained, I was just joking. Lu Tingxiao was addicted to giving her keys and casually gave her another one. It's not easy to get a taxi here and it's not convenient for you to work. You can take this car and drive it. Ningxi, why did she feel like she was a kept woman even though she was only staying for a short period of time? That's not right. If he was a kept woman, he should hide it outside. How could he give her all the keys to the main house and even his own son? Damn, this was clearly the déjà vu of a newlywed couple. She inexplicably recalled Lu Tingxiao's sudden marriage proposal when they first met. She thought that she understood men quite well, but the one in front of her was like a computer system with an advanced firewall installed. She couldn't see through him at all. She didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse for her to agree to stay. That night, because Xiaobao's condition was really bad, Ningxi directly accompanied him to sleep on his little bed just in case. Late at night, the room door was gently pushed open without a sound. The man walked in slowly and sat down on the edge of the bed. Under the dim yellow bedside light, the woman maintained the posture of patting Xiaobao. Her breathing was light and her eyes were gentle. Her lips that were as tender as the cherry on a summer branch opened slightly, as if inviting him silently. After a while, that peaceful light suddenly cast a shadow. The man's figure slowly approached that dark red petal. At a distance where they could smell each other's breath, he could pluck it with just a slight movement. However, he suddenly restrained himself and stopped. His slightly cold kiss landed on the woman's forehead. Ningxi, we have a lot of time in the future. The next morning, Ningxi thought that she could recognize her bed, but she didn't expect to sleep so well. She woke up naturally and didn't even have a dream. When she woke up, she found that Xiaobao was already awake. The little fellow was sitting next to her with a book in his arms and reading it seriously. He didn't make a single sound. He was so obedient. She really couldn't imagine the little bun flipping out. Baby, good morning Ningxi sat up with the quilt in her arms and greeted him warmly. Xiaobao immediately raised his head from his book in pleasant surprise. Although he did not speak, his expression did not change, but Ningxi could clearly feel his good mood from his eyes that seemed to be able to speak. Ningxi laughed and reached out to flick the messier hoj on little Bao's head. Auntie doesn't have work today, so I can stay at home with you for the whole day. As soon as he finished speaking, the little fellow was obviously even happier, and the corners of his mouth even curled up slightly. Ningxi was so adorable that she couldn't help but hold his little face and rub it. Baby, smile more. You're so cute when you smile. After washing up, breakfast was already prepared downstairs. Ningxi didn't see Lu Tingxiao, and the butler and servants didn't mention waiting for him, so Ningxi guessed that he must have gone to the company. After breakfast, Ningxi was still a little worried about how to take care of the child. What if she couldn't take good care of him? In the end, none of the things she worried about happened. In the morning, she curled up on the sofa to read a script, while Xiaobao lay on the table next to her, engrossed in reading or drawing. The two of them did not disturb each other and got along very well. The servant only appeared once to deliver snacks and fruits, and her movements were very light, as if she was afraid of disturbing him. From the looks of it, Xiaobao usually liked peace and quiet. Chapter 27. In the corner, the old butler was silently watching the two people in the living room. He found that Ningxi was not trying her best to please the young master as he had guessed, but was focused on reading the script the whole morning. The young master was reading paintings as usual, and there seemed to be nothing different. However, if one looked closely, he would steal glances at Ningxi from time to time, and the expression on his little face was vivid and reassuring. Perhaps it was because a woman who was too beautiful always made people feel insecure, The old butler was worried at first sight of Ningxi, for fear that the young master would be deceived by her. According to the current observation, she was quite well behaved, but he didn't know how long she could endure. There were so many women in the capital who were eyeing the position of Mrs. Lu covetously, thinking of ways to become Xiaobao's stepmother. Because of this, there was even such a terrible incident 2 years ago, causing the young master. So this time, seeing that the young master trusted that woman so much, and that the second young master didn't stop him, and even the young master seemed to like that woman, he was really on tenterhooks and had to be on guard. Unknowingly, more than 2 hours passed. Ningxi was almost done reading the script, and Xiaobao's painting was also done. He carried it over and showed it to her. Ningxi looked up, and her face was full of surprise. Is this a painting of me? She really couldn't tell that Xiaobao looked so quiet, but his painting style was actually that of a fauvist. The characteristics of fauvist painters were that they liked to use bright and rich colors, and use straightforward and rough brushwork to create a strong picture effect to express the feelings they wanted to express. Although the proportions of the characters in this painting were strange and the structure was strange, it accurately captured the characteristics of the characters, so Ningxi recognized herself at a glance. Xiaobao nodded with the painting in his arms, looking a little nervous, as if he was worried that she wouldn't like it. It's really so beautiful. Can I take a picture of it and use it as the desktop of my phone? Ningxi wasn't deliberately praising Xiaobao, but she especially liked the fauvist style, and liked the strong color contrast. And Xiaobao's level was already at the level of a master, judging from her understanding of paintings. Xiaobao pursed his lips shyly, and directly stuffed the painting into her arms. Ningxi pointed to herself. You want to give it to me? Xiaobao nodded. Thank you. I like it so much. Ningxi hugged Little Bun and kissed him on his soft cheek. Little Baozi stared blankly for a moment, then his little face flushed red. His pair of dull eyes became even more lively. The adult and the child were getting along warmly when Ningxi heard footsteps coming from above her head. She looked up in the direction of the voice and saw Lu Tingxiao walking down the stairs lazily. He was dressed in his home clothes and had a messy hairstyle that he had just woken up from a nap. Although Lu Tingxiao's usual abstinence look was charming, this lazy look was too different from his usual look, so it was even more lethal. It was simply hopelessly sexy. Ningxi was in a daze for a long time before she reacted. Mr. Lu, you didn't go to work today? Wasn't it Monday today? Yes, I'm off today. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Ningxi thought about it and felt it was no wonder. He had just finished a big deal, so it was normal for him to rest for a while. It turned out that Big Boss Lu also knew how to sleep in. Inexplicably, the distance between them became closer. Chapter 28. It's Xiaobao's first time drawing a portrait. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the painting in Ningxi's hand. Really? That's an honor. Ningxi was happy. What do you want for lunch? Lu Tingxiao asked. It seemed like she was not only staying here but also providing for her meals. Ningxi was about to speak when her phone rang. It was Chang Li. Was she going to arrange for her to play a small role again? Hello, Sister Chang. Ningxi, the world will be launching at Pearl Hotel at noon. Don't be late. What? Noon at noon? Noon today? Yes, today. Sister Chang, why didn't you inform me in advance? It's almost 11 o'clock. Why not? Didn't I inform you an hour in advance? An hour? I might not even have enough time to get there, not to mention I have to change and put on makeup. That's your own business. Don't bother me. I'm very busy now. I'm hanging up. After saying that, he directly hung up the phone with a bang. Chang. Fuck you. Ningxi threw her phone. Ningxi was stunned. Xiaobao was stunned. Lu Tingxiao was stunned too. Ningxi wiped her face, wishing she could dig a hole and bury herself in it. She was so excited that she forgot that she was still in the Lu residence and that there was a beauty of the motherland beside her. She had no intention of pretending to be a lady in front of Lu Tingxiao, but it would be bad if she led Xiaobao astray. Xiaobao, let's pretend we didn't hear it just now. You can't learn from Auntie and scold people because Auntie wasn't scolding people just now. Ningxi explained seriously. Xiaobao blinked and nodded, not understanding. Lu Tingxiao's eyes flashed with a smile. What's wrong? Ning, she gritted her teeth. The launch of the world will start at noon today, but it's almost 11. My agent called to inform me that it will take at least 50 minutes to get to Pearl Hotel from here. Do I have to go on camera without makeup? Why not? You have enough makeup. Ning, she was stunned for a moment. She did not expect Lu Tingxiao to be so eloquent. She scratched her head in embarrassment and said, Thank you for your praise, Master Xiao. However, out of politeness, I still have to put on some makeup. The most important thing is that I don't have any suitable clothes at the moment. Wait a moment. Lu Tingxiao raised his hand to indicate for her to calm down. Then, he took his phone and went to the yard to make a call. 10 minutes later, a man arrived, panting. Boss Lu, I've brought all the things you wanted. Shall we start now? The newcomer wore a pair of ripped jeans, a grey linen shirt, and a signature dark blue earring in his left ear. Ning, she was surprised to find that the person was a familiar face. Of course, familiar face meant that Ning Shi knew him, but he didn't know Ning Shi. Arthur, the personal stylist of the movie queen Su Yimou under Shengshe Entertainment, who could turn something rotten into something magical. He was a big shot that a small shrimp like her could only watch from afar. This is Ning, she asked suspiciously. You don't know him? Lu Tingxiao asked. Of course I know the famous Arthur, but why did you ask him to come over? To style you, of course. Lu Tingxiao said matter-of-factly. Ning, she was speechless. She whispered in his ear, You actually asked someone from Shengshe Entertainment to style me? Are you kidding me? Don't you know that I'm an artist from Starlight Entertainment? Shengshe Entertainment and Starlight Entertainment are sworn enemies, okay? So what? Lu Tingxiao looked like an overbearing CEO. Chapter 29. So what? Ning, she was speechless. Boss Lu, how can you help an artist from another company? Do you know your employees? It seemed that he didn't know her. She was not famous now, so he definitely didn't know her. She was really defeated by Lu Tingxiao. After all, Shengshe Entertainment is a subsidiary of your Lu Enterprises. Although Lu Jingli was in charge of Shengshe, the boss behind the scenes was Lu Group's CEO, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Group had been involved in the entertainment industry since 5 years ago, when it acquired Shengshe Entertainment and created an entertainment empire. Now it was as powerful as Starlight Entertainment, which had the longest history and was the current leader in the industry. So it was obvious how fierce the competition between the two companies was. Artists, agents, makeup artists and stylists from both companies were at loggerheads. As long as there was a set, artists from both companies would definitely fight. Lu Tingxiao raised his hand and looked at his watch. The nanny car is at the door. You can do your makeup on the way there. It's not too late. It's up to you whether you want to go or not. Ning, she felt so conflicted that her liver hurt. Finally, she gritted her teeth. Go. Since Lu Tingxiao didn't care, she didn't have to care. Seeing Lu Tingxiao following them, Ning, she was surprised. Are you coming with us? Who else will drive? Besides, Xiao Bao wants to stay with you for a while. His tone was matter-of-fact, as if everything he said was the truth and she was asking stupid questions. Xiao Bao nodded. Okay. In the end, the four of them got into the nanny car together with Arthur. Lu Tingxiao didn't even change his clothes. He was still in his home clothes, driving in the front. Ning Shi and Arthur were in the back seat, and Xiao Bao was lying on the back of the seat, looking at them curiously. Arthur looked at Ning Shi carefully, and his eyes were full of admiration. Miss, your facial features are perfect, and your skin is very good. You don't need to do much. You just need to put on some light makeup. What kind of occasion are you going to attend today? Let me choose your outfit for you. Well, it's a movie launch ceremony. Ning Shi was afraid that he would beat her up if he found out she was an artist from Starlight Entertainment. Fortunately, Arthur didn't ask any more questions. He nodded and continued to do her makeup. When they arrived at the site of the booting ceremony, Ning Shi's full costume was just ready. Her timing was very precise. Lu Tingxiao turned off the engine and stopped the car. He rested his arms on the back of the seat and looked at the woman who had already done her makeup. "How is it?" "Ning," she asked nervously. "Not bad." It wasn't easy for someone as harsh as Lu Tingxiao to say that it wasn't bad, not to mention that Xiao Bao was staring at her with a look of amazement. "Ning," she suddenly felt full of confidence, and then hugged Xiao Bao apologetically. "Baby, I'm sorry for the slip of the tongue, but Auntie promises you that I will finish my work soon and come back to accompany you." Xiao Bao reluctantly stayed in Ning Xi's arms for a while. Knowing that she was in a hurry, he quickly let go of her and waved at her. Looking at the two people behind her, one big and one small, Ning Xi's heart swelled, full. After fighting alone for so long, this was the first time he felt such warmth. After Ning Xi left, the driver was naturally Arthur. Arthur could no longer suppress his curiosity. As he drove, he asked carefully, "Boss, who was that lady just now? Is she a new artist hired by our company? Why haven't I seen it before? Oh my God. Their big boss actually had a woman by his side." This was big news. Lu Tingxiao tilted his chin and answered unhurriedly, "An artist from Starlight Entertainment." Arthur, at that moment, the expression on Arthur's face was as sullen as if he had eaten a pound of shit. "Boss, you actually want me to style an artist from Starlight Entertainment? Why did boss take the lead to betray the country and collude with the enemy? Even second young master would never look for an artist from Starlight Entertainment when looking for a lover. If it was second young master sitting here, he would definitely scold him righteously and angrily. But this was the devil, Lu Tingxiao, therefore, he could only sulk until he died, not even daring to let out a fart. What made him even more depressed was that he suspected that this unknown artist from Starlight Entertainment would be their future lady boss, right? After all, this was a woman that even little Prince treated with respect, not simple. Chapter 30. At the opening ceremony of the world. The main cast and crew were all present. There were flashes everywhere, and the media was everywhere. There was also a large group of fans who came after hearing the news. Most of the media was surrounding Ning Xueluo, who was playing the female lead, and Zhao Xizhou, who was playing the male lead. One was the leading actress of Starlight, and the other was the best actor of the Academy Award. The combination of a handsome man and a beautiful woman was naturally eye-catching. "Xueluo, we all know that you and Xizhou are working together as a couple this time. This is the second time you've worked together as a couple. I wonder if you'll fall for a man like Xizhou in real life. Haha, Xizhou is indeed very charming, but I won't. I don't have any extra heart for him anymore." As soon as she said that, all the media started to make a ruckus. A year ago, Ning Xueluo announced that she had a boyfriend, and all kinds of people tried to dig up the inside story. In the end, they found out that the other party was the son of Su Hongguang, the CEO of Ifeng Group. He had a high net worth and was handsome. He was a handsome and rich man, and everyone was envious of him. Although the fans were very sad, they were no longer as averse to their idols getting married and dating as they were in the past. Most of them still wished their idols to find a good man. Ning Xueluo's popularity did not decrease after she announced her relationship. Instead, she kept up her popularity with topics like handsome and rich boyfriend and winner in life. Zhao Xizhou, who was next to her, was also very good at picking up on the joke. He held his chest and pretended to be in pain. "Miss Shangguan, you're so cruel. I've given my heart to you." This time, Ning Xueluo was playing the female lead called Shangguan Ingrong, and Zhao Xizhou was playing the role of a prince. When the reporters heard that, they all laughed and teased Zhao Xizhou. The atmosphere was very lively. This time, other than the male and female leads, the second female lead was the most eye-catching. Therefore, Guo Qisheng was also surrounded by a group of people. "Director Guo, why didn't I see the actress playing Meng Chang'e? Will she be here today?" "Of course. Rumor has it that even Jiao Qingqing didn't succeed in the audition because you thought she wasn't beautiful enough. Is that true?" This question was clearly meant to stir up trouble. However, Director Guo was also a veteran, and his words were watertight. The role of Meng Chang'e does have high requirements for the actor's appearance, but appearance is not the only standard. Jiao Qingqing's appearance is definitely not a problem, but it feels like there's still a certain gap between her and our requirement. I heard that the actor playing Meng Changa is a newcomer. Since the requirements for the role of Meng Changa are so high, will she be able to fully control the role if we use a newcomer rashly? What's going on today? Did I not give enough red packets? The reporter's questions were sharper and sharper, and all of them were targeted at the second female lead. Let's wait and see when our drama comes out. The reporters still refused to let go of this question and asked aggressively, Director Guo, is the actor who plays Meng Changa more beautiful than Jiao Qingqing? It was not over yet. Yes. So what if she was prettier than Jiao Qingqing? What beauty in 100 years? When you see Ning Shi, let's see if you still dare to boast about Jiao Qingqing like this. Well, each has their own merits. You'll know when she's here. Guo Qisheng was getting a little impatient from the questions. At this moment, he walked past a group of reporters and saw a person appearing at the end of the red carpet. He was stunned for 3 seconds before he came back to his senses. Then, he smiled and said, "Speak of the devil." Chapter 31. After saying that, Guo Qisheng looked like he was waiting for a good show. Sure enough, all the reporters looked in the direction pointed by Guo Qisheng, and they were all stunned at first. Today, Ning Shi was wearing a red hollowed lace dress. The perfect design of the waist completely showed her charming waistline, and the neckline revealed her beautiful collarbone. This color was more difficult to handle than red, and it was made of lace. Although the design was extremely beautiful, ordinary people would look vulgar or shocking if they didn't wear it well. But this dress seemed to be made for Ning Shi, and it made her look bright and attractive, dazzling. When the stylist chose this dress for her, Ning Shi herself felt that she couldn't handle it, but she was convinced after she put it on. No wonder he was the gold digger of Shengshe media. His eyes were so sharp. They only met once, but he knew her better than she knew herself. As for walking on the red carpet, although it was the first time for Ning Shi to formally attend such an occasion, she was an actress after all. She had tried to figure out people in all kinds of industries, including big stars. She had played them several times, so it was not difficult for her to walk on the red carpet. Every step, every smile, every movement was just right, and she could accurately find the position of the camera and give the most beautiful expression. The reporters were stunned longer than Director Guo, and it took them a long time to come to their senses. Was this Ning Shi who played Meng Changa? An unknown newcomer without any representative works? She's just too beautiful. There was no word to describe her. She was beautiful. They were all asking Director Guo who was more beautiful between Jiao Qingqing and Ning Shi just now. No wonder Director Guo had a strange expression at that time. Their questions were simply ridiculous. In front of such a stunning beauty like Ning Shi, Jiao Qingqing, who had always been famous for her beauty, was simply ordinary. Not only the appearance, but also the aura of this newcomer was very strong. She was not like a newcomer at all. Her gestures were elegant and generous, and even exuded a kind of innate nobility. Ning Shi walked to the center of the red carpet, made a few random poses for the media to take photos, and then turned around, picked up the signing pen on the tray, and signed on the wall. As soon as she turned around, there was another burst of exclamations and the sound of the shutter being pressed. The dress was designed to be backless, which was an important reason why the stylist had chosen it. Ning Shi's butterfly bone was too beautiful. It could be said that it was the sexiest and most seductive part of her body. It would be a waste if she didn't show it. In the past, most female stars liked to bare their breasts on the red carpet in order to attract attention, but Ning Shi had taken a different approach. She was much more sophisticated. After killing countless films, it was finally time for the interview. The friends of the reporters today were quite pitiful. This was because the questions they had prepared were, do you think you can control Meng Changa with your looks? Who do you think is more beautiful, you or Jiao Qingqing? I heard that you were admitted as an exception. Is there any reason for that? Now, all these questions were no longer needed. Anyone who wasn't blind would know that there was no such thing as an audition. His face was too convincing. She was the most suitable Meng Changa. Therefore, the reporters began to ask questions on the spot. Miss Ning, may I ask if the clothes you're wearing were handmade by designer Karl Lagerfeld? Ningxi was stunned. Is this a Karl Lagerfeld haute couture dress? How could she wear a dress worth millions of yuan so casually? How could Devil Lu be so unscrupulous? However, the more terrible thing was yet to come. Then the reporter listed the origins of all the things she was wearing one by one, and then asked, "Miss Ning, is your stylist Arthur?" How could he see that? He had sharp eyes. Chapter 32. No, I must be mistaken. Fortunately, before Ningxi could answer, the reporter denied his own question. He finally remembered that Ningxi was an actress of Starlight, so how could the stylist be Arthur, the stylist of Su Yimo of Shengshe Entertainment? Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief. Fearing that they would ask similar questions again, she quickly said, "After all, today is the opening ceremony of the world. Let's ask questions related to the movie." Then, "Miss Ning, is this your first time acting?" Someone in the crowd asked. "Of course not. I've been on cruise since I was in college, but I didn't have many scenes before, so no one knows me." Ningxi answered truthfully, not minding that her resume was lacking. Since the media could find out everything, she might as well be humble and tell them. "May I know what roles you've played before, Miss Ning?" This was a normal question, but it was a little embarrassing for Ningxi. But since the reporter had asked, she couldn't refuse to answer. "I've played before." Ningxi began to count the roles she had played after returning to China. During the 4 years she had been studying abroad, she had spent all her spare time on cruise. She had played small roles in many famous dramas, and also had a lot of scenes. It wasn't easy for Ningxi to have such a resume when foreigners generally didn't like to use Chinese actors. The reason why she didn't tell them about her experience abroad was because of the absurd love history she had when she first went abroad. Although they were all normal relationships that didn't violate morality, the identities of her ex-boyfriends were a little too eye-catching. The most important thing for her now was to have a presentable work. If there were all gossip about her as soon as she debuted, the public's attention would be focused on her private affairs. She might get some exposure for a while, but it wouldn't be good for her long-term development. Ningxi had tried very hard to recall the roles she had played after returning to China, but the reporters were still speechless after she said them out. What kind of roles were they? Mistress, vixen, seductress, country bumpkin, brainless young lady, and even vicious old woman. What kind of hobbies did such a beautiful woman have? Why did she always like to play such ugly roles? Sure enough, someone asked, "Why are you always playing villains?" Of course, Ningxi wouldn't expose Chang Li on such an occasion. She said calmly, "I didn't pay attention to that. Acting is my most beloved career. Every role has its own life, regardless of whether it's big or small." Following that, the media asked a few more questions. Without any guidance from her manager, Ningxi answered all of them perfectly. Guo Chisheng, who was watching from the side, nodded repeatedly. "This girl is really not bad. With such aptitude and EQ, he has only reached this stage after entering the industry for a year. Old Wang, what do you think?" Producer Wang Taihe said meaningfully, "Either the higher-ups of Starlight Entertainment are blind, or, after saying that, she gave him a knowing look." It was clear that someone in Starshine was deliberately suppressing her. Guo Chisheng's face was full of regret. What a pity for such a good seedling. Gold will always shine. Besides, doesn't she have a talent scout like you? Wang Taihe chuckled. At that moment, Ning Shui, who was standing at the side, was clenching her nails into her palms. Her face was so dark that she almost couldn't maintain her composure on such an occasion. She had deliberately asked Chang Li to inform Ningxi at the last minute so that she would make a fool of herself at the opening ceremony. In the end, Ningxi would appear in the finale and amaze everyone. Damn it, Ningxi's outfit alone cost a few million yuan. Where did she get so much money? Clothes and jewelry could be rented, but who styled her like this? She had underestimated this country bumpkin. Chapter 33. Xueluo, Ningxi is your junior sister. What do you want to say about her playing the role of Meng Chang'e? At this time, a reporter asked Ning Xueluo about Ningxi's problem. Ning Xueluo immediately put on a calm and elegant expression and said sincerely, my junior sister is very capable. I think she won't let us down. Ning Xueluo praised Ning Shi for all the questions asked by the reporter. People who didn't know what was going on might think that she was helping her junior sister, but Ning Shi knew clearly that Ning Xueluo was up to no good. She was not helping her, but trying to kill her. Before the game had even started, they had already praised her to the skies, causing the outside world to have such high expectations of her. If she was the slightest bit careless, she would be bombarded badly. Unfortunately, she would not give Ning Xueluo a chance to make her evil plan come true. She had been conserving her energy for 5 years, so she was confident that everyone would be convinced of her acting skills. She wanted to kill me. Let's wait and see. The media interview finally came to an end. Ning Shi was about to take a breath, but was stopped by Chang Li. Ning Shi, where did you get this outfit? Don't expect the company to pay for it. You are just a supporting actress. Who allowed you to be so high profile? Don't you know the rules? Chang Li scolded her as soon as she came. Ning Shi combed her long black hair and said slowly, I didn't want to, but Sister Chang insisted that I be the last one. You. Seeing that there were too many people around, Chang Li suppressed her anger. Later when we're eating, you better behave yourself. Don't talk nonsense and embarrass the company. Xue Luo's alcohol tolerance isn't good, remember to block the alcohol for her. Do you hear me? Ning Shi couldn't help sneering. Drink for her. Miss Chang, are you dreaming? She should be thankful that I didn't pour wine on her. Chang Li and Ning Xueluo were in cahoots, so it was useless for her to bow and scrape, so there was no need to listen to her. If she had been tough, Chang Li would have scruples and wouldn't dare to go too far. Chang Li was annoyed by her. Ning Shi, you've really grown up. You just got a supporting role. Don't you know what your surname is? Ning Shi had no patience to deal with her anymore, so she turned around and left. Chang Li looked at Ning Shi's back as she left. Even though it was just a back view, it was enough to make people yearn for her. She felt inexplicably flustered. She had a premonition earlier that she might not be able to suppress Ning Shi. This woman was born to act. If she were to rise, her future achievements would definitely not be comparable to Ning Xueluo. But now that things had come to this, she could only ruthlessly suppress her, not giving her any chance to make a comeback. After the launch ceremony, there was a banquet. All the relevant crew members gathered together, chatting and eating while getting to know each other. The atmosphere was much more relaxed. Seeing Ning Shi, the scriptwriter Yi Linglong was the first to stand up and pull her to sit beside her. She was obviously very satisfied with her. Speaking of which, what a coincidence. The two beauties in our drama are from the same company, and they both have the surname Ning. Assistant Director Zhong Rui exclaimed. Ning Shi sneered in her heart. Hehe, what a coincidence. They were working under the same manager in the same company. But their encounters were vastly different. One was already the top star of Xinghui, while the other was still struggling at the bottom of the entertainment industry. As they spoke, the producer and director suddenly stood up and went to the door. It turned out that Ning Yaohua, the chairman of Ning Enterprises, the biggest investor of the drama, had arrived. Chapter 34. I didn't expect Chairman Ning to have the time to attend our opening ceremony. It's an honor. Director Guo greeted him warmly. Come, Chairman Ning, sit here. Producer Wang gave up his seat and let Ning Yaohua sit next to Ning Xueluo. Ning Yaohua looked at Ning Xueluo lovingly. Director Guo, you're too kind. Thank you for taking care of my daughter. Chairman Ning, your daughter is so outstanding that she doesn't need my help. She's always so busy. If it wasn't for this trip, I wouldn't have been able to see her, Ning Yaohua said angrily. Although he had a straight face, there was no anger in his eyes. It was obvious that he doted on his daughter. Ha ha ha, you should be happy that Xueluo is so hardworking. But Xueluo, you're in the wrong. No matter how busy you are, you should come home often, Director Guo said angrily. I know, Director. It's my fault. Dad, don't be angry. I'll come home for dinner tomorrow night. Ning Xueluo hugged Ning Yaohua's arm like an obedient daughter. Look, the director had to speak up for me so that she could come back. Dad, There are so many people here. Give me some face. Yes, yes, yes. You're a big star now. I can't say anything. She thought that she had been tempered into steel, but she didn't expect to see this scene. She felt suffocated and almost wanted to run away immediately. Fortunately, she couldn't control her heart, but she could cover it up perfectly on the surface. She discussed the plot with the scriptwriter calmly, as if she didn't notice the commotion in front of her. She could ignore it, but someone didn't think so. Ning Yaohua's gaze was like a knife cutting her body. It was as if it was a shameful and disgusting thing to see her in public. She finally left the room with the excuse of going to the bathroom. She walked to the window at the end of the corridor to get some fresh air. She took out a cigarette and lighter from her bag. She fumbled with the slender cigarette for a long time, but finally put it back. She was quitting smoking. It was the first time tonight that she couldn't control herself. The night wind blew on her face, making her feel a little better. At this moment, she suddenly heard footsteps behind her. Ningxi's back stiffened, but when she turned around, the expression on her face seemed to be a mask, impeccable. Chairman Ning is looking for me. Ning Yaohua stared at her with a heavy gaze. He was extremely dissatisfied with her eye-catching attire. She lowered her eyes and smiled. Well, Chairman Ning, you kept staring at me in the private room just now. Aren't you afraid that people will think that you have some bad ideas about me? After all, in the eyes of outsiders, he was an investor, and she was a beautiful female star. It was the easiest kind of relationship to have an ambiguous relationship. Bastard, what are you talking about? Ning Yaohua was furious. She raised her eyebrows. Of course it's human language. Does Director Ning not understand human language? You. Ning Yaohua suddenly raised his palm. Before it could fall, it was firmly caught by a slender wrist. How could she give Ning Yaohua another chance to hit her? He wasn't qualified. Ning Yaohua was infuriated by her and pulled his hand back. Quit this role. Don't embarrass me. Ningxi's face was cold. I got this role fair and square. How did I embarrass myself? You just want to do whatever Xue Luo wants to do. You don't care what you look like or whether you can be compared with Xue Luo. You want to enter the entertainment industry because you want people to dig out your scandals and embarrass the Ning family. Ning Yaohua looked at her with disgust. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.